There's the USB cord up there.
The drainage division, stormwater division gave them the approval. Yep.
All right, I'll go ahead and call to order the Zionsville Plan Commission meeting of November 17, 2025. Please rise, start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike, would you please take roll?
Yes. Andrew Cossack.
Present.
Brad Johnson.
Present.
David Franz.
Present.
Jim Hurst.
Present.
Josh Fedor.
Present.
Hendrick Davis.
Present.
Nick Plopper.
Present.
All
All right,
present.
all members are present, so just as majority will enact anything we vote on tonight. So, in your docket, there is a set of October monthly reports. Is there any comments on those reports? If not, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Oh, it says no action required, my mistake, so I guess, so we don't need to approve those, all right, okay. All right, so we have a continuance request on docket number 2025-73Z.
But you do have approval of minutes.
Oh,
No reports, just minutes.
oh, okay, my mistake, I read it wrong. So, all right, I meant to say minutes. So, is there any comments on those minutes, or additions, deletions?
I move we approve the minutes.
Okay, a second.
Second.
All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Minutes are approved. All right. Request for continuance docket 2025-73Z, Pulte Homes, Pulte rezoning, Parish PUD for townhomes, 4101 South 875 East, Zionsville. Rezoning to change 13.38 plus minus acres from the rural single R1 district to the planned unit development district for 31 unit townhome development. Does anyone have comments on this?
Request for continuance.
Oh, I was asking if there's anything, no, I was asking anybody in the staff, is there, but does the staff have anything to stay on this one?
No, it is just a plain request for a continuance, but I will note that it is to the January meeting
Right.
and not to the December meeting.
Okay, all right. All right, is there any questions, comments on this one? If not, is there a motion to continue this to the January 20th, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed by nay. Those will be continued to January. All right, continued business to be heard. Docket 2025-66DP, Pittman Investors LLC, The Farm Commercial Building Number 3, 11792 Silo Crossing. Development plan for a 13,200 square foot multi-tenant commercial building with related parking areas on 1.1 acres in the planned unit development, the Farm PUD District.
Thank you. All right. So as a recap, this was presented at the last Plan Commission meeting. So my presentation will be a little bit abbreviated, focusing mainly on what was discussed and some of the concerns from the previous meeting. So the petitioner requests a development plan approval for a 13,000 square foot commercial building on a 1.24 acre site intended for retail and restaurant use. The project includes associated parking, landscaping, stormwater infrastructure within the Farm PUD.
Could you promote our screen, please? Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned, the petition was heard at the last Plan Commission meeting and was continued tonight specifically so that the petitioner could revise the rear facade to better comply with the PUD standards and address some of the Plan Commission's concerns. So let me go right here. So again, the property falls within the professional office use block of the Farm PUD right here. To the north, you have Sycamore Street. To the east, you have 5 existing commercial buildings within the Farm PUD. To To the south, you have the Building C and its parking areas, again, within the farm PUD. Since last meeting, the petitioner has made some of the requested corrections to the Sycamore Street facing facade, right here, which I'll point out right here. And then some of the changes that they made was material and texture updates. Point A, they introduced the introduction of cultured stone at both ends of the rear elevation. Point B, right here, wherever I denoted it. The east corner is now fully wrapped in stone. Point C, incorporations of a mix of vertical and horizontal material profiles. Point D, increase in the warm textured vertical siding at the doors. They also improved massing and facade articulation through point E, addition of parapet height articulation throughout the rear elevation. Point F, addition of a projected massing element. And they lastly enhanced the project's human scale through the addition of eyebrow canopies at the end of the facades, which is point G. And again, right here, this is the old facade that was presented at the last Plan Commission meeting. At the very top, you have their proposed changes. Happy to go through any of the other exhibits showing in detail the changes they have made. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Petitioner?
Can you put this on my computer, please? Yes, hello and good evening. For the record, my name's Steve Pittman with offices at 9589 Valparaiso Court. I'm here representing Pittman Partners in our presentation of the farm at Zionsville. First of all, Jose, thank you for your assistance and your help and your support. Appreciate that. And Jose has encouraged me to make this probably a longer presentation than shorter to talk about the difference between a concept plan versus a development plan and some of those things. You know, last month I was in New Orleans when you had this hearing, and the people I was with are like, "Hey, let's go out on Bourbon Street," and I'm like, "No, I'm going to watch something a lot more interesting. I'm going to watch my son at the Plan Commission get this building approved." And I advised him during the day. I go, "Hey, these guys have a long agenda. Don't go into a lot of detail to the back of this building and just, get in and out. Don't talk a lot." And so I gave him bad advice because he tried to do that, and I think you guys want a lot more information. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to give you a lot of information tonight. And also just, we got this project approved in 2013. And I'm curious, who up here was on that Plan Commission that approved this? Okay, 2 people. And are both you guys staying on after this year, or are you moving on? I'm still here. You're still here? How about you?
I'm moving on.
You're moving on. Okay,
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I appreciate it. You've been doing it for a lot of years, and thank you for supporting this project when we got it approved. And but so I'm going to. Some of you guys don't have the history of this project, so I'm going to give it to you a little bit. So maybe contrary to popular belief, this was and has been a very popular project. We've never received any vote that wasn't unanimous, and so. That's happened because we've worked really, really hard. We've been very, very conscientious with all the people around us and our neighbors. We've tried to really do a good job, and we always try to put ourselves in our neighbors' shoes of what would you think. And so I wanted to start out by showing our red barns. This is how everybody remembered this site as the Pittman Farms, and multiple family members lived on this site. In fact, I lived here. Sam lived in the house on this as well, and you guys aren't going to be very impressed with me when I tell you this, but I remember painting these barns. And so they don't look very good there. But, my dad, when he bought this, it was a dilapidated farm that nobody wanted. There was a home that burned down on the site. In fact, Jim, you probably know the family. The Davis family owned it. And the grandmother actually died in the fire. And so we bought the property, and my dad quickly went to work. And where you guys talk about this being the gateway and being really important, my dad always talked about this is really important because of our reputation, our names on it. When it says Pittman Farms, our names on it, so everything we do is really important. And I want to start out by telling you that because I know you guys care a lot because you're up here spending time away from your family. It's equally important to us, if not more so. So
We appreciate your comments and always trying to improve and take constructive criticism from you guys well. So, Brad, your comments last time, when I was listening in New Orleans, where I kind of felt a little bit irritated. I've known you for a long time. I've got just a ton of respect for you for multiple reasons. You're a great planner, and two, you stood up to the airport a couple months ago when we were battling up there at 200. So when you had a complaint, and I appreciate you meeting with me out there. When I got home, you immediately met with me, and we discussed this, and we came up with a really good plan. So thank you for your comments, and thanks for taking the extra time to meet with me. So I'm going to talk quickly to make sure, and this doesn't mean to be condescending, it's just some of you are new and some of you aren't. What we're here to talk about tonight is a development plan, not our concept plan. Because every time we come up here, you start talking about the concept plan. That's fine. That's fine that we're doing it. But we're going to be coming before you multiple times with more and more buildings. So I want to kind of discuss this. This is the concept plan that was part of our PUD in 2012. Okay, so we're going to go to that in a minute. But I'm going to talk about what a concept plan is in our PUD. The concept plan conceptually illustrates one of the many possible layouts of the internal drives, building areas, buildings, and parking areas permitted by this farm ordinance. Subject to the definition of block in section 13.10 above, the concept plan is conceptual and preliminary only, and the final site plan shall comply with the development requirements, but may vary from the concept plan in all respects, and as such, by way of example only, and not by way of limitation, use areas may vary, and the size, location, configuration of walkways, drives, building pads, landscape areas, and parking areas may change. So this first concept plan that you saw, we've made multiple changes from this, and we've made changes, and Zionsville's required us to make changes, and I would tell you all of them are improvements. So when you look at this plan, when you look on Michigan Road and you look on Sycamore Street, when we first started this, the plan was to have 8-foot multi-purpose trails or paths. Zionsville changed, so we want 12-foot multi-purpose paths. So they're not 8, they're 12. That was a change. We think that's a good change, and I think that's one of the things we've tried to incorporate not only on our perimeters, but as we move into the project, that we really want this to be a pedestrian-friendly project. Also, these pointers don't work on here, so I'm going to describe where it is on this site, and hopefully you guys are going to follow me. But if you look on the very south end, a little bit further back where that road comes in off Michigan, you'll see a building on the south end of the south side of that road that backs up to the neighborhood to our south. As we continue to interact with the neighbors in that area, their preferences, we didn't put any building south of that and by their neighborhood, so we've eliminated any of those buildings. So when you say, hey, Steve, you didn't follow your concept plan, yeah, we eliminated a building that was really good planning and respectful of the neighbors. When you look on the interior of our project, the village core, on the concept at the time, we showed a grocery store there in the middle, about a 33,000 square foot grocery store. We're actually working with a 26,000 square foot grocery store. So it'll be different than what we showed on there. We don't have a 33,000, we have a 26,000. But as you see there, we're going to move that grocery store out a little bit further south and kind of, if you know where Bibby Bop is, behind that. And because we learned that you cannot have trucks coming in and out and being right next to our multifamily. So that'd be an example of another change. Another thing we did that I like quite a bit, if the red barn that I showed you guys, it was important to us. We wanted some sort of memory or pay homage to those red barns. And so we went back by the apartments with our partners, Skinnell Properties, and built, $1 million plus pavilion. We're not getting more rents for it. We're not anything other than it's really, really beautiful common space that, Brad, I know you as a planner like that sort of thing. But here's a picture of that. You can see kind of the red on the barn siding, and you're sitting out here and you're looking over to the pond to the south. And it's a really nice treatment. But that doesn't show up anywhere in our concept plan. You can see to the far west, one of the things that we did is as part of our master plan PUD, we put in estate residential. People were like, how do you do estate residential next to apartments? How do you mix all these things? At the time, people weren't sure you could do that, and I think people are more confident of that now. But we sold that, and last I heard, that person who bought that's probably going to build one estate on that property. So that'll be another thing that's different from our concept plan. So when you look at the initial concept plan here, if you look at the entryway up on Sycamore, we're going to go look at that building that's just to the southeast of that entryway. And our concept, let's kind of look at what our concept plan called for versus what we're proposing. So we showed a 20,000 square foot building there. We're coming in with a 13,000 square foot building. We also, to the to the east of that building, we showed a right-in, right-out on Sycamore. Zionsville and NDOT did not allow us to put in a right-in, right-out, so we don't have a right-in, right-out. That's different from our concept plan. We're showing 8-foot perimeter sidewalks. We're doing 12-foot along Michigan Road, another change. And the old plan, we didn't really show the pedestrian connectivity that we're trying to accomplish here. So now what we're here to talk to you guys about tonight is a development plan, which is different than a concept plan. And so it's not as pretty because there's a lot of engineering. You're dealing with grades and utilities and walks, but it's, when I say it's not as pretty, the building's very pretty, but when you're looking at an engineered plan, it's not quite as pretty. But what you're looking at here, you're looking at 13,000 square feet, so it's 35 less dense than the previous concept. There's no right-in or right-out on Sycamore. There's a 12-foot wide perimeter path. It's 50% wider, the path's 50% wider than the concept, and we have integrated pedestrian circulation. We think those are all positive things. The other thing, and I think, Jose, this is probably what you really encouraged me to do, was to go out. We took some pictures of the site. And so when we first started laying this site out, and we started working with the neighbors to our north, and we started dealing with the grade changes, they really liked the idea of us dropping the grade along Sycamore, not keeping the grade high, and raising the grade on the south end. So we have about 50 feet of fall from Sycamore all the way down to the creek. So you got to figure out where you're going to make those grade changes with retaining walls. So you can see here along Sycamore, we have about 14, 15-foot retaining wall right there. So when we're talking about what the backs of these buildings are going to be looking like, you're not going to see a lot of it, and you're going to see the upper section of that. So the first picture on the upper left, you're looking inside the site out towards Sycamore. You can't see the road. You can only see the building with the fence on top. The next one, just to the right of that, is standing out at Sycamore looking back, and it's showing the building that we built there, and the next building will probably be very similar to what you can see. And then the bottom left, you're looking from Sycamore out across at the site where we propose to build on, and the building there. And then the next one shows building 5 and just where the retaining wall is and how, the room behind it. So this is the building that Sam presented last month that you asked us to go back to the drawing board on, and we have. And when you look at that building, we had the original rear elevation was designed to match the neighboring building elevation, both height and scale. High quality masonry, stone, and composite elements were proposed. Design intent was clean lines, that's a staple of the farm. Same rear canopies that we have on the other buildings were proposed. So the building that we're asking for your approval on tonight, this shows the back change. Now, you're not going to be able to see the majority of that building, but let's talk about what we've done here. We have material upgrades and added texture. We wrap both ends in culture stone, anchoring the frame of the building. We incorporated a mix of vertical and horizontal material profiles to add detail and depth to the elevation. We improved the massing and facade variation. We created parapet height articulation to break up the roof line. A projected massing element was added to induce a sense of in and out movement and create shadow lines. And we enhanced the identity of the human scale. We used eyebrow canopies were added at both ends, visual breaking vertical wall height and creating rhythm while still offering protection from the elements. We also have 3-dimensional parapet elements that add visual interest. So as pretty as this building is the developer that you're also trying to manage a pro forma and be profitable and make sure your tenants can pay you rent, when you come out here and you're buying your coffee for $10 for a cup of coffee, not $6, that's why, okay? The approximate view from Sycamore, when you start looking at the elevation, the fencing, that's approximately what you're going to see from Sycamore. And last but not least, we want you guys to see what incredible places that we're creating out here and the activity that's happening. When I say that we're creating, I'm not saying that Pittman's creating, I'm saying that we're creating with you guys as the Plan Commission members, the planners, and the people here that are supporting us. This is a community asset and something that we're proud of, and we hope you guys are as well. And you guys have certainly played a big part in helping us provide such a cool place. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody from the public who'd like to comment on this matter? All right, I'll close public comment. Any members of the Plan Commission have anything to say?
Want to start, or Brad, or you want me to start? I think we're-
Start.
All right. Mr. Pittman, I appreciate your statements and that there is a difference between a concept plan and a development plan. I never looked at the concept plan, so couldn't tell you how it changed until you explained it to me tonight. Do you have pictures of what those existing buildings look like from the street as built?
I don't have any with me.
Okay.
No.
I am, in the scheme of things, newer on the Plan Commission when approvals came through for the development plan that yielded what is a great development. I think I've eaten at 2 of the 3 places that are up there already. This is a very prominent gateway to the town, and one of the things I learned is I don't like to look at the back of the buildings when I'm coming in to town. It's as simple as that, and so I very much support improving what we can along Sycamore as the backs of these buildings face the road. I appreciate your efforts there.
I'm just going to speak to the concept plan, not specific for this project, Steve, but for the ones that come before us. My issue is that they do tend to be quite different when we actually start seeing the buildings being proposed. I would love to try to figure out a way to bridge the gap a little bit. What I feel sometimes, and again, this is not Steve, because I certainly cannot speak to how it was presented at the front end for your particular project, but some projects, as a Plan Commission member, you feel like you're getting the best possible scenario, not necessarily a realistic scenario of what to expect. And I would like to, as a Plan Commission, be asking more questions to try to get to what that realistic expectation is more likely going to be, or to ask developers to come to us with more realistic options. So in this particular case, again, it's been quite a number of years ago since it was approved. And I agree that concept plans are meant to be a concept, but it's a pretty big divide between what we see as a concept. It's almost like there needs to be an interim drawing that, as things become to materialize and be realized, is showing another plan that is what we're really then basing our, because we're basing the concept plan, we're using that to decide, do we grant a PUD or do we not? So lots at stake. I mean, I know some communities that ask for a whole lot more than we do. And I'm not saying that that's the right direction to go, but I'd love to be able to figure out a way to get more realistic drawings on the front end instead of guessing at what they're going to be. So I don't have any further comments.
Yeah, this one was a little bit different than most because what is it, 5, 6 years? How many years did it sit idle?
Yeah, we got it approved in 13,
Yeah.
and we started developing it, I don't know, 22, 23.
Yeah, so, and obviously between that time, a lot of things changed. Obviously, what who you're talking to go in here and those sorts of things. So I appreciate the fact that, it did change. I do recall, it seems to me, and maybe it wasn't the ones that were facing, Sycamore or Michigan, but I do recall seeing some concept. It seemed like we complained about the backs of the buildings were awful plain. And I can't remember if those were more interior or if they were you know, exterior, I can't remember exactly which ones they were.
A long time ago.
I know, it's been a long time, but, you know, so I agree with, you know, over here that the concept is the best thing that we can go by. And this is just, my guess is if you would have built this thing within 2 years, you'd probably been very close to that concept plan. It's just that it changed just so dramatically in the time frame. So, again, I appreciate everything you've done. I'm glad this thing finally got developed. I think it's going to be great. It looks great so far, so greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the adjustments that were made and Brad, you know, kind of bringing it up to spruce it up a little bit. I don't know that all of the architectural changes, design changes that were made just on the exterior here is going to change coffee from $6 to $10. So I kind of don't appreciate that comment, to be honest. But, you know, I respect the inward-facing commercial and trying to create the space you're creating and everything you have done to, you know, kind of level this up. And I appreciate the recap of the PUD since it is, you know, so old and that sort of thing. So, again, you know, thank you for working with us in the town and being willing to make some of those changes, just, you know, for the community and to kind of better what that looks like, so.
Any other comments?
Just say thanks for coming back and making some changes that we requested. I think the development is a success so far. I've been happy to patronize some of the businesses. You mentioned about, you know, $10 coffee. I don't know how much haircuts are going to cost at Macho's, but hopefully competitive with Boone Village Barbershop. So, again, yeah, thanks for all your efforts and meeting our request, Steve. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you. I think you did a good job on making some adjustments to this project. This is how the process is supposed to be. Tell your son we're sorry you kind of put him on the spot last month. I'd like to see him back here sometime, but I do appreciate the changes you guys have made on this project. It's definitely going to help. It's going to help a situation that is very, very critical in our area, so.
I'd move, if we're ready for that.
Yep.
I'd move the docket number 2025-66-DP Development Plan for a 13,198 square foot retail building and its associated parking and landscaping within the professional office use block of the Farm PUD be approved based on the findings in the staff report and staff and submitted findings of fact.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mike, would you please take roll?
Andrew Cossack,
Yes.
Brad Johnson,
Aye.
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
David Franz,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Kendrick Davis,
Aye.
Nick Plopper.
Aye.
Approved unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. and
Thanks.
Sorry
Thanks
we
for
won't see you at the beginning of next year.
It's been 14 years. So
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for your
Right.
service. That's a lot.
You're welcome. I just lost my agenda. Oh, there it is. Crap. Thanks. Next item on the docket, 2025-69 DP, Strongbox Commercial on behalf of Tom Wood Automotive, Tom Wood Auto Dealership, Crane Drive, Zionsville. Development plan for a new automobile dealership on 9.87 plus minus acres, including a building of approximately 32,700 square feet and related parking areas in the rural general business district and within the I-65 South Overlay District. Waiver for exterior building materials is requested. Project will also need a right-of-way vacation for a portion of the Crane Drive from Boone County. Roger?
Yes, sir. If my screen could be promoted, please, thank you. As mentioned, the petition before you is for a development plan for a new automobile dealership, including a 32,000 plus minus square foot building and related parking areas in the rural general business and within the I-65 South Overlay District. Related to this development plan is a waiver for exterior building materials as required in the overlay district. And also related is, as mentioned, the project also requires a right-of-way vacation from Boone County for a portion of Crane Drive. On the screen before you, for orientation purposes, this is Whitestown Parkway or Sycamore Street. The existing Tom Wood Toyota dealership is here on the southern portion of the Tom Wood-owned property. The subject side of the proposed new dealership is immediately north of that, on the unimproved area. Immediately to the east of the property is the future Kroger site, and then to the north, we have the Marathon gas station and also Cracker Barrel. Moving on to the zoning map, this property is zoned rural general business, but as I mentioned earlier, it is also subject to the to the I-65 South Overlay District. That is depicted here by the area that is crosshatched in red. The overlay, what that does, it elevates certain development standards that would typically be applied to the rural GB district, and it also includes some uses that, while possibly permitted by the GB, the overlay excludes certain uses. That the exclusion of uses does not apply to the dealership. The dealership is permitted within this area and within the overlay. As I mentioned, proposed is an automobile dealership. The existing vehicular access to the overall site is via Crane Drive. Again, Whitestown Parkway is up here to the north. This is Crane Drive that comes in, and as has been platted by the Kroger secondary plat, this access easement will come down through and provide access to the existing Toyota dealership and the proposed new dealership. This will be the primary point of access to the two sites. There is a secondary access into the new dealership here at Crane Drive, but that will be a gated entry. So again, the primary point of access will be coming down through the Kroger area. The small portion of Crane Drive that will need to be vacated is right in this area. Currently, Crane Drive comes down and bends down into the site and dead ends. The proposed development is to vacate that. There will be a slight realignment of the Crane Drive, providing access into Cracker Barrel, and the area to be vacated is going to be improved with employee parking. We move on to the site plan. Again, for orientation, this would be the main point of entry into the site. The Toyota dealership is down here to the south. What is depicted here is the new site of the new dealership. Again, this is the secondary entry that I mentioned that would be gated. So we have space back here for vehicular storage. We've got more parking and display areas along the side and along the front and along the sides. The building kind of has two sections to it. A front section that is closest to I-65, and then the rear section where more of the service aspects of the dealership would be incorporated. I point this out as I'm about to get into the discussion of the waiver for building materials, simply because the waiver is more applicable to this rear section rather than this front section. The development standards of the rural GB do not include any architectural requirements for new development, but the I-65 South Corridor overlay does include architectural design requirements for the following items: building design, building facades, roofs, entrances, windows, awnings, suitability of exterior building materials, and color. The proposed dealership complies with all of these standards except for that of the exterior building materials for facade walls of buildings. The petitioner has requested a waiver of this requirement, and that waiver is an option to the Planning Commission as provided within the I-65 overlay. The I-65 overlay provides a list of permitted exterior building materials for facade walls of buildings. The west elevation, which would be this one, and that is the one that's facing I-65, complies with this standard where the exterior building materials are primarily architectural metal panels and glass. The remaining three building elevations, the east, north, and south of the proposed dealership, would include painted precast concrete panels as the primary exterior building material. So again, here as we're looking at the north elevation, and I mentioned that the building kind of has two sections to it. again, staying with this north elevation, this is the area that would be closest to I-65, and the primary exterior building material of this portion of the building is EFS, which is a permitted building material. It's when we get around to the rear portion of the building, that which is further away from 65, is where they're going to be using the precast panels, and that material is not a permitted material in the I-65 overlay. So again, it's on the rear portion as we move. I'll go back to the site plan. This portion of the building would comply with the exterior building materials of the overlay. This portion of the building would not, and that's the section of the building that is requiring the waiver. You can see how, again, this is the facade that's facing I-65. The glass and materials somewhat wrap around the edge of the building here, looking at the north elevation. Just as here, looking at the south elevation, they again wrap around here. So on the south elevation, this portion of the building does comply with the standards, where here, that is the area that requires the waiver. Portions of the north and south facades are also include EFS. The precast concrete panels are only permitted for industrial and warehouse facilities in the overlay. And while the auto dealership is a similar use, staff does not consider the proposed auto dealership to be an industrial or warehouse facility, and it is for this reason that staff concluded a waiver to permit the precast concrete panels should be requested. Plan Commission may approve the requested waiver, finding that three findings. First, the building materials utilized represent an innovative use of said materials which enhance the overall aesthetic exterior character of the building and will not be detrimental to the use or value of the area properties. The second finding is that the building materials utilized are appropriate when compared to the building materials utilized on other buildings on the site and surrounding sites. And finally, the third finding, building materials utilized are consistent with and compatible with other building materials utilized on and within the overall exterior character of other buildings and development located along the street, and the building materials utilized are consistent with the intent and purpose of this chapter. Should note that many of these same materials were utilized on the Tom Wood dealership immediately to the south, so it would be complementary to and consistent with that dealership. Second item of interest that I want to mention to you, the first being the waiver for the materials. The second is signage. Generic signage. Let me see. Thank you. Generic signage information has been provided identifying where wall signs and a pylon sign are proposed to be located. However, details of the actual proposed signs have not been submitted for review. Therefore, the development plan, should it be approved, signage should not be included as a part of the approval. All signs will need to be submitted for staff review prior to the issuance of a signage improvement location permit. If the signage package does not comply with the rural GB and the I-65 overlay standards, a variance of development standards will be required. If the proposed signage is similar to that of the existing Toyota dealership, variances should be anticipated, as that signage package did also require variances. As for staff recommendations regarding the waiver of the exterior building materials, staff supports the requested waiver. As for the development plan, staff supports conditional approval of the submitted development plan, not including signage, but subject to the following conditions. One, the resolution of any outstanding review items which are identified in the comment letters from the staff report, the comment letters being identified as Exhibits 6A and 6B, and also a copy of the recorded vacation for the portion of Crane Drive must also be provided. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, Roger. Petitioner present?
I'm Jerry Williams of Strongbox Commercial. We're at 95 East Oak Street, Zionsville. And I appreciate Roger's explanation and everything. Pretty well covered everything for us. The one question that's not answered in these drawings is which dealership it is. It is going to be a Honda. After that, I'll answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you. At this point, is there anybody from the public who'd like to speak on this matter? you have to come up, state your name and address.
John Green, 8101 East 300 South. So I'm just curious why we're allowing a concrete panel structure that doesn't comply. I understand you can give a waiver. I understand a waiver has been given in the past, but aren't a lot of the buildings in that area currently brick veneer? And concrete panels are rather industrial. They're not attractive. They're functional, but they're not attractive. And we've already addressed an issue with attractiveness to the gateway of Zionsville from the Michigan Road access. But I just don't see why we're allowing a concrete panel structure when many of the buildings over there are brick veneer.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? If not, we'll close public comment. I'll open up to members of the Plan Commission.
So is the proposal that the proposed concrete panels, are they painted, or are they just raw concrete, or is there any aesthetic treatment to them at all? Any textures added? I know that they can come in many forms.
The panels themselves have a reveal pattern put into them that matches the metal panels in the front of the building. They're also going to be painted. We'll have cap metal on it that's probably an accent color as well, per the elevations that were proposed.
This all matches the first building, correct?
The building physically matches the other building in size, height, and width. Actually, the floor plan is pretty close to the same thing as well. The back-end construction is different than the other building. The other building was CMU block with EIFS on the surface, and this one's going to be precast with painted treatment.
Just to confirm, the front of the building that is facing I-65 is not precast, correct?
Correct. It's all architectural metal panels and glass.
Okay, so the rear of the building, if you will, is the precast part.
Yeah, there'll be the shop area.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
I guess my only comment here is that, I mean, concrete from 100 feet away looks a lot like EIFS. I mean, there's not much difference, but I just heard you say that it's metal panels and glass on that front building, not so much EIFS.
It's all, the whole front section of the building is all architectural metal panels as well as glass treatments. There's even glass treatments on the back of the building as well, as you can see in the upper elevation 4.
Understood.
Anybody tell me how long the existing dealership has been standing there?
Built it in 2018.
And was the I-65 overlay in place at that time?
Sir.
And we granted a waiver request?
Yes, it was.
I'm personally not opposed to concrete panels. However, I just feel like we've got a grocery store now going in, we've got restaurants, we've got places that people are coming to visit. It is part of our gateway, it's part of our, community. And I'm certainly not suggesting that this get dressed up like a front facade, but it just feels like there could be a better design to the raised-in-place panels, or color scheme, or something that could add some visual aesthetic to that large, tall, block-shaped building. I mean, it doesn't, by its shape or by its height, lend itself to being a soft or attractive structure. And I get that it's very utilitarian. It is not necessarily industrial, as staff has concluded, but it's somewhere in between. So my request is, is there anything that could be done here that would, it feels more industrial than it needs to be. And maybe,
We could change the exterior area along the back to EFS. It's still going to have the same look and color scheme. This is all dictated by the Honda dealership requirements. So the colors of the building were sort of bound by what Honda requires, and this is our store, this is what you want to see. But we could change that facade to EFS if the board feels fit.
yeah, again, to me, it's the massing of the building that needs to be, what's the overall height of that structure? I guess I can maybe zoom in and add up the numbers, but
My eyes aren't that good, but I think it's somewhere around 30 feet.
The front end of the building, that end that is closest to I-65, shows 32 feet to the top of parapet.
Back level.
And the back level
we're looking at 30
is
feet.
27.
Yeah. Aesthetically, like I said earlier, the difference between EFS from 100 feet away versus a painted concrete panel is, the average person's not going to know the difference. So to me, it's not a material thing, it's a design. I mean, adding some of their colors as metal panels, like as a three-dimensional relief to that, is that an option, or adding additional windows, or is?
In the back area, because of all the lifts for cars, and there's a two-story mezzanine on one side for parts and storage, the functionality inside starts to get impacted. Can we look at some type of relief on the panel so it isn't a big flat wall? Yes, we can have the architect take a look at that. We're willing to come back with something that might be more pleasing.
Yeah, I completely understand that the requirements for dealerships do require color schemes to be holistically applied to the property and to the structures. I think some raised, standoff panels, that would add some three-dimension to that would be very helpful. And again, using the same color scheme, but I don't know what some of the other Plan Commission members think, but it is a massive building. It's now becoming a destination for our residents to go shopping, restaurants, visitors, and I just think if we can get the aesthetic of that ramped up a little bit, that's the intent of the overlay district, is to have improved aesthetics. Unfortunately, a lot of times in the regulations, we focus on materials, as if EFS all of a sudden is going to make it a pretty building. You can design very ugly buildings with EFS and glass and, the materials that are on the approved list. But the intent is to strive for something that's pleasant to the eye. Is there a landscaping plan to this, and does that soften the building at all? Sometimes that can be a nice way to soften a building as well.
A landscaping plan was submitted and is included in the staff report. I do not have it as a screenshot to show tonight. The amount of landscaping required, though, I would hesitate to say that it does a lot to soften the building, just because there's not, it meets the standard, but it's not a heavy requirement of landscaping.
Toyota, there's not a lot of landscaping on. So,
Yeah, and it's not in the business model for car dealerships to landscape their perimeter. I mean, then you can't see the cars, right? So, do we ask for revised drawings to pretty this up a little bit and just delay it a month?
That's where we're getting to.
I appreciate your efforts towards that, Brad, but I think I'm disagree this time, just because the intent of this project, I think, is to coordinate with the existing dealership and to match what's already there. I think if we ask for revised drawings, then a different facade, we're going to have two different looking buildings.
It is two different dealerships, though.
And it's a little
Just
more
'cause it's the
prominent to
same
the
owner.
parkway as well.
Yeah.
You know, it starts to creep forward to where you can, you know, visually see the entire, whereas where the Toyota dealership is tucked back a little bit further as far as eyesight from, you know, the parkway. This one will be sitting prominent right there behind. And you will be able to see this back section more than you will the front section from the gateway on Parkway.
Well, to characterize what I'm leaning towards myself is that this feels a little more industrial than it needs to be. I'm not asking for a major shift, I'm asking for a minor shift towards something that's not a front facade, but something that's not feeling like an industrial building. And I don't think that that takes a whole lot, and I don't think it's gonna deviate that much from the existing building that's there either. I don't know, that's just where I'm leaning right now.
I'm looking at the 3D on the Tom Wood Toyota dealership, and the front building is finished out, and the
Yeah, it looks nice.
garage area is just white walls, I mean, it's the same thing, so. I mean, I mean, if they want to go back and take a stab, I'm fine with that, but at the same time, you know, it would be, what they proposed is very consistent with what's already there.
I don't see awnings or any kind of three dimensions to the facades. And again, that would be an option, just something that actually adds some color, adds some depth, shadow lines. Those are all things that make buildings attractive, or at least start working that direction.
Anything else? So what do we want to do? Sounds like you're willing to,
I would make a motion to postpone the decision on this one and ask for some minor architectural revisions to that
continue it to the
December meeting.
What is it?
15th.
19th,
15th, December 15th.
Oh, good, it's not Christmas week this year.
Yeah, I would second that motion.
Second was from Nick?
Kendrick.
Sorry, Kendrick.
So, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Oh, yeah, Mike roll. I was
Okay.
waiting for him just to start, sorry.
Sorry. Okay.
It's just,
Brad Johnson,
Aye.
Kendrick Davis,
Aye.
Nick Plopper,
Nay.
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
David Franz,
nay.
Andrew Cossack.
Aye.
5-2, continued to next month. We'll see you then. Thank you very much. Next on the docket, 2025-70 DP, Strongbox Commercial on behalf of Town of Zionsville, Zionsville Golf Shack, Golf Course Snack Shack, 10799 East 550 South, Zionsville. Development plan for the addition of a snack shack on the Zionsville Golf Course being in the Special Use 3 SU3 district. Jose? Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, so for this one, the petitioner is requesting a development plan, again, for just a concession stand essentially within the Zionsville Golf Course, operated by, owned by the town of Zionsville. So currently, the property is zoned Urban Special Use District 3 Golf Course. SU districts accommodate uses with unique operational characteristics that don't neatly fit into residential, commercial, or industrial categories. These uses require Plan Commission review to ensure compatibility with surrounding properties. The site is roughly half a mile north of downtown Zionsville, with the proposed snack shack positioned near the southern edge of the golf course, close to Willow Street, and then in the surroundings, towards the north and the east, you have wooded lots. To the south, you have residential developments along Ash, Maple, and Willow Street. And to the west, you have more wooded. You have a wooded tree line within the golf course. In addition to the snack shack, the project is going to include new paving to connect the building to the existing golf cart trail and utility access drive, which is, one second, right here, this whole area, right here. And then this is the existing drive. A rope gate is proposed roughly 160 feet from the property line to prevent unauthorized vehicle access from Willow Street right here. The petitioner is also acquiring an adjacent parcel east of the existing drive for a future driveway reconfiguration. However, this has no impact on the current proposal. And then here, a few of the elevations for the proposed snack shack. This petition was reviewed with section 194.075 of the ordinance, which calls for the SU3 districts to follow the development standards laid out in the B3 zoning district, which is urban outdoor business. Staff finds that the project is compliant with all applicable bulk, architectural, and landscaping standards, with the exception of section 194.113, which requires a compliant photometric plan. That was not submitted with the application, so it would be a condition of approval. And then regarding the new paving, while it does not significantly alter the existing utility access configuration, both planning and DPW staff have concerns about the potential misuse as a public access point. This could increase pedestrian and golf course related traffic coming from outside of the golf course, which could trigger reclassification of that path to a private street or interior access drive. The petitioner proposes a rope gate right here. A rope gate and municipal vehicle only signage to prevent misuse. Staff finds this approach acceptable as long as adequate means of securing the gate are provided. If it cannot be effectively secured, the path would need to meet section 194.108, which could require increasing the width to between 18 and 36 feet. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Are you representing the town, or is somebody else here also?
Barry.
Oh, Strongbox, sorry, okay.
Jerry Williams with Strongbox Commercial, 95 East Oak Street, Zionsville. Jose did a nice job going through it. The security gate in this, we're planning to allow the municipality to put locks on either side of that rope gate. So they control the keys, they control the locks, they control the access. And that's one thing we don't have on the plans, obviously, but that's the way we're planning to do that. Keep in mind, this current driveway access is also the access to the residential house for Chad and Christy Pittman. So it acts as their driveway as well as a public access into the golf course. So it's sort of a twofold thing that's currently existing. We're not doing any modifications to it with this proposal. We're just adding the rope gate just to control traffic. The shack itself is primarily about 200 square foot of a serving area. Basically, it's a area to serve hot dogs and a bag of chips and golf balls and tees if they want to sell them, as well as having a storage area and a single hole bathroom. It's better than having an outhouse out there. And the rest is just open patio next to a golf green. So this is sort of the area where people grab their snacks at a turn. Since it's a 9-hole course, the turn's about 4 holes in. Any questions?
Hours of operation concurrent with the hours of operation of the golf course?
Correct. And the facility will be painted white with like a grayish stone and a charcoal slate roof, similar to the pro shop.
Okay. Just because it's come up in a conversation, it's not my own opinion, but like if kids from the neighborhood walk down there and want to buy hot dogs, that's all okay? Or is it just really exclusively for the golfers?
It's a public golf course. If kids want to come buy a hot dog, they're probably going to be welcome to come buy a hot dog.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to, anybody from the public like to comment on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing part. Anybody else have any questions, comments?
Why a rope gate opposed to a traditional gate? Is that, you made a comment about it, that's a driveway entrance as well for someone?
If we bring up the site plan, you'll see the house that's directly to the left, and that's Chad and Christy Pittman's home, and that's their driveway. So the rope gate will go at the north end of the property of their property. So it'll be right about where the paw is.
So it's going to go on their north property line right there.
Yep. And it's just control the access, so they have access to their driveway, their garage, but normally, normal pedestrian traffic or vehicular traffic can't drive up into the golf course. Currently, there's nothing there at all.
Assuming there'll be employees there, is there a parking space then included for a person that's going to be working there?
They're coming over by golf cart from the clubhouse.
Okay. Is this in the floodplain as well? A lot of the golf courses, is this part of the
Oh,
floodplain?
no, it's
No, this is way
probably
higher.
30, 40 feet
It's
up on the
above,
hill.
Okay, good.
Anybody else? If not, is there a motion on this matter?
I would move that docket number 2025-70-DP Development Plan for a 848 plus or minus square foot concession building with concession area, bathroom, and canopy in the Urban Special Use SU-3 zoning district be conditionally approved based on the findings in the staff report and the staff recommendations, submitted findings of fact, resolution of the following outstanding review items, which is the submittal and approval of a photometric plan compliant with Section 194-113, and a resolution of an issue identified in the comment letter provided by DPW Exhibit 8.
Second. Got a second?
Second was, sorry, Nick?
Any further discussion? Mike, would you please take roll?
Brad Johnson?
Aye.
Nick Plopper?
Aye.
Andrew Cossack?
Aye.
David Franz?
Aye.
Jim Hurst?
Aye.
Josh Fedor?
Aye.
Kendrick Davis?
Aye.
All right, 7-0. Thank you very much. Let's see, next on the docket, 2025-74 MP, 7615 Fayette Drive LLC, Fayette Farms Minor Subdivision, 7615 Fayette Road, Brownsburg, Indiana. Request for a 3-lot subdivision to construct 3 single-family residences on 8.13 plus-minus acres located in the R2 zoning district. The request includes an SCO waiver for perimeter paths along County Road 750 and Fayette Road and related bonding, and a waiver for provision of water facilities. Jose again?
Yep. So, again, for this one, the petitioner is requesting 4 different things. Obviously, the minor subdivision of about 8.13 acres into 3 single-family residential lots, a waiver or deferral of the required public perimeter pathways along 750 South and Fayette Road. They're also requesting a waiver of the bonding requirement should the deferral be approved, a waiver of the fire protection flow requirements for private well. Currently, the property is zoned R2 rural single and 2-family residential. The surrounding area is rural in character with agricultural lands and large lot residential parcels. To the north, right here, you have County Road East 750 South and 2 R2 parcels, one containing a single-family residence and the other an agricultural field. To the east, you have an undeveloped 5-acre R2 parcel with wooded areas and a narrow access drive to Fayette Road. you can barely see it, but it's right here. That's connected to here. And then to the south, you have a 9-acre undeveloped agricultural parcel zoned R2. To the west, you have Fayette Road, and across from it, you have the Fayette community right here, with a mix of R2 and rural general business parcels. Bit of background for this project. A previous variance was requested for it to develop it with 5 duplexes on well and septic, but was denied at the October BZA meeting. The petitioner now proposes to subdivide the site into 3 lots as depicted on the primary plat. The proposed lot sizes would be for the Lot 1, 2.9 acres with a single-family home with access via County Road East 750 South. Lot 2 is 2.74 acres with a single-family home with access via Fayette Road, and Lot 3 being 2 acres with a single-family home with access via Fayette Road. Overall, the plat meets all applicable R2 zoning standards, including minimum lot size and width to depth ratios. Stormwater access, fire department, and health department items were reviewed through a TAC review on October 15th. Only minor technical items remain and none that would impact the overall viability of the plat. However, there's a few requests with the waivers, and for that, I would just like to remind that to approve a waiver under the subdivision control ordinances, the Plan Commission must find that all 5 required findings are satisfied, which you can see up here. And then to approve a deferral, the commission must find that one of 3 deferral criteria are met, which right here. And obviously for clarity, I'm going to just summarize staff's position on each request, and we'll just point out which findings or criteria we feel were not met, and be happy to discuss them in more detail afterwards. So for the waiver requesting sidewalk pathway installation, staff is not supportive of granting the waiver since it would, 1, remove the obligation for any current or future owners to construct the sidewalks, risking that the sidewalks will never be installed. 2, it eliminates the town's enforcement ability to compel the construction of the sidewalks. And 3, findings A, C, and D have not been met in staff's opinion. For the deferral of the sidewalk pathway installations, staff is supportive of the granting of the deferral for the following reasons. 1, the rural context of the area does not necessitate the installation of the sidewalks immediately. 2, along with the lack of existing or planned connecting facilities. And 3, low pedestrian activity in the area. Therefore, staff believes all 3 findings for the deferral have been met. For the waiver of the performance bonds, should the deferral be granted, staff is not supportive of granting the waiver since it would, 1, create a significant risk the sidewalks will never be installed. 2, could shift the financial burden to the town, as waiving the bond increases the likelihood of no available funding to install the sidewalks at a later date. 3, findings A, D, and E have not been met. For the waiver request of the fire protection flow requirement, staff is supportive of granting the waiver for the following reasons. 1, the site is rural and cannot reasonably connect to municipal water service at this time. 2, the development must still meet Boone County Health Department's well and septic requirements. And 3, the fire department has reviewed the request and raised no objections. And obviously, lastly, staff is supportive of the minor subdivision of the 8 acres as presented in the plat. I would like to amend kind of what my staff report says. I got a last-minute comments from DPW, so I would ask that you guys conditionally approve it, indicating approval based off of all outstanding TAC comments from the Department of Public Works being resolved prior to the secondary plat being recorded. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Petitioner?
Hi, good evening. My name is Brian Cross with Civil Site Group, address 718 Adams Street, Carmel, Indiana. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Will Alderson, the petitioner and owner of the property. Yeah, the summary that Jose provided is pretty on point there as far as what the goal of this evening is, to obtain development plan approval, primary plat approval of this plat. 3 lots on 8 acres. We're meeting all the requirements for the R2 zoning district, minimum lot size, ratios or width, the depth. Working through the TAC comments with outside departments and utility companies. We've got a few outstanding, I heard that Jose said, but we'll review that with staff as well as the Department of Public Works. It might be a right-of-way question, but we'll get with them on that.
Yeah, they're just general comments. I just want to make sure that we're covering our bases.
Yeah, with respect to the waivers that we're requesting, this area, again, was added into when the town reorganization was done in 2010. I mean, it's a rural area, basically, so rural ag and residential. So to provide pedestrian pathways on the perimeter of a subdivision of 3 lots that are over 2 acres average seems to be a little bit, out of the ordinary in this situation. Both roads, public right-of-ways, are county maintained and owned for Boone County Highway at this time. So we would request the waivers be granted on the installation and the bonding surety requirements. And then, of course, the fire department did review this area. It is a rural setting. There is no public water available at this time. So in a subdivision control ordinance to have that, it's just another checks and balance to see, what you can and can't do in those areas. So we would appreciate the approval of that waiver as well. Any question, I'd be happy to answer.
All right, thank you. At this point, I'd like to see if there's anybody from the public who'd like to comment on this matter. I'll close public comment. Anybody up front? Questions, comments?
Just on the primary plat drawing, the Exhibit 5, it's showing new dwelling twice on each lot, septic fields twice on each lot. Is that just alternate locations or possible locations? Is that what you're proposing?
Yeah, it's conceptual to show, what a new buyer of a lot can have a different idea where they want their home to be positioned on there. So it's an opportunity just to show that there are other locations than just fronting the actual public right-of-way. The home could be built deeper into the site, and those septic areas would be viable as well.
So all 3 lots are single-family home lots?
Single-family homes, yes.
Right.
I mean, my concern with the pathways is, obviously we're going to have a presentation tonight about our comp plan, and there's a neighborhood activity center, that's circled right there. At 750 and 267, I know Ronald Reagan's going to be coming up through there. It's rural now, but I know we have in the past in very rural districts away from state roads and major, intersections have required, pathways for future. So I think it's going to be important in that area, especially for looking in the future.
I would agree, Kendrick.
Yeah, I concur.
All right. Anybody like to start taking these motions on?
I'll take them. Several here. I move that the request waiver of the requirements to install a perimeter pathway along County Road 750 East and Fayette Road be denied as presented and discussed in the staff report.
Second.
Have a second? Any further discussion? Mike, would you please take roll?
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Kendrick Davis,
Aye.
Nick Plopper,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
David Franz,
Aye.
Brad Johnson,
Aye.
Andrew Cossack.
All right, so that waiver is denied. Next one up.
I move that the request deferral of the installation of the required perimeter pathways be approved as presented and discussed in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Further discussion? Mike, would you please take roll?
Yes. Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
David Franz,
Aye.
Brad Johnson,
Aye.
Andrew Cossack, Kendrick Davis,
Aye.
Nick Plopper.
Aye.
Deferral is granted.
Aye, deferral is approved. Next is related to
Performance bond.
yeah, they want to request waiver to, yeah, okay, go ahead.
I move that the requested waiver of the requirement to provide a performance bond of letter of credit when deferring the installation of the perimeter pathways be denied as presented and discussed in the staff report.
I'll second that.
I have a question for staff on this. So when would they post the letter of credit? Immediate? I mean, I'm just kind of curious, what's the mechanics of that?
It's up to you guys when, but a normal, typical thing that we've seen done is you could have it deferred to when sidewalks or improvements connect to it, when new.
I'm talking about the posting of the
sorry.
letter of credit.
Yep, those would be required prior to the recording of the secondary plat.
Okay, all right, thank you. I just wanted clarification on that.
You want to make that a condition of?
No, it's,
Okay.
that's standard. I just wanted to understand that specifically. All right. Mike, would you please take roll?
Yes. Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Andrew Cossack. Brad Johnson,
Aye.
David Franz,
Aye.
Kendrick Davis,
Aye.
Nick Plopper,
Aye.
and I missed someone. Was that everyone? Okay. Bonding, waiver, or the request for waiver of bonding requirement was denied.
Correct. All right. Fire protection.
I move that the requested waiver of fire protection flow requirements be approved as presented and discussed in the staff report.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Mike, would you please take roll?
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
Nick Plopper,
Aye.
Kendrick Davis,
Aye.
Brad Johnson,
Aye.
Andrew Cossack.
Aye.
Motion passes to,
I'll go aye, too.
I'm sorry, David Franz. Thank you.
We all make mistakes, Mike.
tough to be secretary.
I've made plenty of them tonight, so.
All right.
All right, then on to the subdivision.
Yep. I move that docket 2025-74-MP approval of a minor subdivision dividing approximately 8.13 plus or minus acres commonly known as 7615 Fayette Road into 3 single-family lots be conditionally approved based on the findings in the staff report, submitted findings of facts, and staff report, and based on outstanding comments in the DPW letters, is that,
TAC letter.
I'm sorry?
TAC letter.
TAC letter.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Mike, would you please take roll?
Josh Fedor,
Aye.
Jim Hurst,
Aye.
David Franz,
Aye.
Brad Johnson,
Aye.
Andrew Cossack.
Aye.
Kendrick Davis,
Aye.
Nick Plopper.
Aye.
Motion
All
passes.
right, that's approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next on the docket, 2025-75Z, Pulte Homes, Pulte rezoning, Smith and Sorry, single-family development, 8101 East 300 South, Zionsville, rezoning to change 161.54 plus minus acres from the rural single-family R1 district to the rural single and two-family R2 district for the 269 lot, for a 269 lot, single-family residential development. Jody, you got
This
this one?
one's mine, yes. Thank you. For your consideration tonight is a rezone request to rezone property from rural R1 to rural R2 to develop a 269-lot, single-family residential subdivision. You can see the property location here. And the next slide, the zoning you can see is R1, immediately surrounded by R1, but in the near area are other R2 zoned properties. The proposal is to rezone this area, the comp plan, or concept plan, sorry, rezone the area to provide for that 269 lots, which is about 1.7 units per acre, and it's within the guidelines suggested by the comprehensive plan. The conceptual plan shows two different lot sizes, 11,900 square feet and 9,800 square feet. The R2 minimum is 5,000 square feet per lot size. There are some proposed amenities, which include walking paths, pool, bathhouse, playground, and pickleball. Everyone loves pickleball, right? The total amount of open space and common area is about 56 acres over the whole site. So you can see some of the common area here and through here, and then the walking paths that connect, and then, of course, the perimeter pathways along the county roads. A traffic impact study has been prepared, and it does call for a few intersection improvements and stop controls. That's been detailed in the staff report. The developer submitted voluntary commitments. The commitments that you received early when the staff report was first published are old, and the developer had submitted some updated commitments which got put on the website. They didn't submit them until Friday. But the updated commitments are the same three, and then they added some promising to do the road improvements that are outlined in the traffic study. Again, this is just a rezone, so you're making a recommendation to the town council, and the criteria are noted in the staff report, but again, we want to pay attention to the comprehensive plan, the current character and conditions of the area, the most desirable land use, property value, conservation, and the responsible development and growth. And I did kind of whiz by the comprehensive plan, the future land use map, so sorry. This is the site, and you can see it's noted as residential low density, which is less than 1 to 2 units per acre as shown in the comprehensive plan. So staff would recommend that you guys go ahead and hold the public hearing, provide comments to the petitioner, and if you're satisfied this evening, you can forward a condition to the town council. If you do forward a recommendation, please include any conditions of approval that you would suggest, and then also the commitments that the petitioner has offered, those revised updated commitments. I'm happy to answer questions or let the petitioner go ahead and explain the project. Oh, yeah.
Okay, looks like I'll be doing it from this view. Good evening. For the record, Rex Ramage Pulte Homes, 11595 North Meridian Street. Thank you for allowing us to be here tonight to hold the public hearing and discuss our newly proposed Bradbury project. As Jody outlined, we have about 161 acres that's situated on the south side of 300 and then between 800 and 875 respectively, as shown on the screen. Touched on the comprehensive plan already. Basically the range there at the bottom from anywhere from less than 1 to 2.0 units to the acre. We're at about 1.67 with 269 lots on 161 acres. So we're within the concept or the comprehensive plan range. On the image that you see on your screen is the proposed concept plan. We do have some access points on 300, one on 800, one on 875. And we are working around some comments related to those access points that we have received through the TAC process up to this point. There are two different lot sizes. There are 85-foot wide lots and 70-foot wide lots. There will be 3 distinct home series that we'll be offering here at this location. The 85-foot wide lots will offer a side-loaded garage home, and then there will be both a front-loaded home that's more for the 2-story family buyer, similar to Devonshire, if you're all familiar with that project just to the south. And then also on the 70-foot wide lot, there is a ranch series, empty nester series that we'd be offering here as well. I'll show some images of those here just momentarily. One of the other things that we'd like to highlight is the amenity center, as Jody had already described that to you, kind of centered here in the project, has a nice backdrop of about 11 and a half acres of wooded area that we would like to preserve. We think that's going to be a nice central focal point for the community. Trails connecting across the legal drain to the amenity center, and then of course coming east-west, trying to create a loop all the way around the southeast corner, and then directing folks back again. So there's going to be nice walkability within the community for everyone. One unique site feature is we do have the legal drain that does bisect the site, so there is going to be homes on both sides, flanking both sides. Another comment that we had received through the TAC process was, is there any way that we can connect the 2 neighborhoods or the 2 residential streets over the legal drain with a vehicular road in lieu of just a pedestrian road? So we are exploring that as well, and that'll kind of tie back into the access points on the perimeter of the site. Open space, Jody mentioned that already, over 56 acres of open space. That's about 35% of the total acreage of the site. We have about a half a mile of perimeter trails and then about a mile and a quarter of internal trails, which we believe walkability is of the utmost importance in our site designs when we do new projects. Blow up of the amenity again and just some illustrative photos. Jody beat me to it. Pickleball is wildly popular with all age groups, so we would plan to include that here as well. We would have some play structures. There's usually 2. There's one for the little kids, one for the big kids kind of thing. And then of course a pool with a pool house to round out this central amenity complex that everybody in the neighborhood would have access to. So the next few slides are some of the homes, so let me walk you through those. As I mentioned before, there are 2 different lot sizes. On the screen, you have the 85-foot wide lots. This is going to be our Manors series. It is a side-loaded home. Generally, these homes are 3,000 to 3,500 square feet. Most of them will have basements, 3-car garages. These homes are going to go anywhere from 700 to 900. We think that's a nice range that may not be met in the market here today. We have a lot of custom or semi-custom homes that are north of that range, and then of course there's some homes below that range as well. So we like this fit within the current market demand of Zionsville. The other 2-story home series is on the screen as well. You can see there's a variety of different architectural styles, but again, this would be reminiscent of Devonshire, if you're familiar with Pulte's project just to the south. These would be basement option, not so much basement standard. But these homes do provide for a growing family to have a very nice home and live within the community, grow within the community. Last but not least, our empty nester series. So these would all be ranch homes. They do have options for a loft, so to go up with some additional space, should that be desirable. But we really feel that this is a buyer segment within Zionsville that has a high demand and there's a need for it. So there's a lot of folks that live in those 5, 6, 7,000 square foot homes within a certain radius of this site. And they've established their families here. They have friends, they have their church, they have everything, and they want to stay within that bubble, that radius. So I wanted to provide an opportunity for those folks to stay within their current bubble that they live in, but also still have a new construction home that they can kind of downsize into. So we take great pride in doing our site designs, our land plans, making sure that we're providing the right style of housing. And one of those things where we talk about it all the time is we want to build incredible places where people can live their dreams. We feel that this community does have some natural features that we're paying homage to, but then also providing a variety of housing within the community such that maybe me and my growing family can live here, my parents can also live here. So you can kind of have that multi-generational family unit living within the same community, all of which is highly amenitized with walkability. So with that, I will turn it over to you all. We'll have the public hearing, and then I'll have some commentary afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess we're going to find out what everybody's here for tonight, huh? All right, so at this point in time, I'll ask if there's anybody who'd like to speak on this matter. What I would do is come up, say your name. If there's going to be common themes, I'd appreciate it if somebody's already touched upon it. You kind of say, I agree with prior speakers on that matter, something on that side, because I think there's going to be quite a bit said. So if you would.
My name is John Green, 8101 East 300 South. That address might sound familiar to you, considering this is 50 acres of my family's property. We originally sold our 50 acres to Mr. Mansouri with the understanding that it was going to become a development for his two sons to build their McMansions on. 2 houses, not 100 houses. My property sits on what was almost 5 acres, and to enlarge the bridge, 192, I now have just over 4 acres. The county took 8/10 of an acre to build the new bridge there on 146. To my east is Paul Borth, who sits on 2 acres of land. Paul's going to be actually no longer 2 acres of land, since his land was affected by the bridge enlargement as well. My concern is for Paul and I especially, that we have enough buffer between us and these new neighbors that we didn't intend to have. I'd like to see a lot of green space. I also would like to see something that protects us from the dust and detriment that will be created by any construction that goes on there. And also, I'd like to see a reduction in the, not the overall number of houses per acre, but rather on the 3 pieces of well, I should say the 3 homes that currently exist. Paul Borth, my house, and John and Olivia, and I can't recall their last name, who are directly there on the corner of 875, or I'm sorry, 800 and 300 is their corner. They're right on the corner there. They have 3 acres of land. As far as the 10 acres of trees, those trees were planted by my family. That's a hardwood forest that was part of the reforestation program that the state funded. We did that over 20, 30 years ago. Those trees are just now starting to hit their stride. I'm glad that they're being preserved. That particular piece of ground is not arable. It was clay, it was rocky. It wasn't good for much, but that's a great addition. I'm glad to see that that's being retained. Again, my concerns are, can we mitigate the construction dust by putting up something? And as far as they're showing these little dots, which I'm assuming are some sort of trees or shrubs, I'd like to see something put in, hopefully that is pine beetle resistant, something that's not going to be killed in 10 years.
All right, thank you.
Matt Cornicione, 8607 East 300 South. I'm coming before you tonight to present some of the concerns raised by 12 families. Please raise your hand, who all met yesterday. and these properties are directly surrounding the proposed development or across the street from proposed development. We're requesting an unfavorable recommendation by the Plan Commission to a rezone of R2 density. If the commission is unwilling or unable to issue such a recommendation, at the very least, we'd request a continuance so the affected individuals can meet with Pulte to try and negotiate a reasonable solution. The public awareness campaign surrounding this has seemed to be minimized by design. Several neighbors did not receive the letter that Pulte sent out about the neighborhood meeting on 11/6. There has been limited signage for this commission meeting tonight. One small sign on 300 was placed, which blew over a few days later. There was no signage on 875 or 800. My understanding is that's not legally required. It just seems to be a little bit shady that no information has been put on those days, on those streets. My apologies. The neighborhood meeting was scheduled concurrently with the comprehensive plan meeting in this very building, making it impossible for residents to offer input at both meetings. Pulte has offered to meet with some concerned residents, but they provided very little opportunity as the timeline between the neighborhood meeting and tonight's meeting was a mere 6 business days, one of which was a federal holiday. Such limited time has not allowed us, impacted residents, ample time to prepare and coordinate a response to this life-altering proposal. The proposed density of 269 home sites, or 1.67 per acre, is much greater than desired for this area of Zionsville. As homeowners, we purchased our homes and paid a premium for the lots because of the rural nature of the area and the privacy that it provides. While knowing someday it could be developed under the R1 density, which would permit about 160 home sites. None of us want that density, but we acknowledge that's what we signed up for. Proposed home sites in this plan are 0.22 to 0.24 acres per lot, which is a higher density than the nearby Pulte communities like Devonshire, which is roughly 0.33 acres per lot. In my specific case, my west and south property lines, which total 800 linear feet, will have at least 12 homes abutting them, and they've offered a mere 30 feet of buffer. The current comprehensive plan calls for the intensity and density of development to decrease as it's located further from the core of the town. This proposal clearly does not adhere to that guiding principle. There's a number of other things that we have brought up, but I don't want to take everybody's time. Schools, road congestion, noise pollution, loss of property values, wildlife concerns, et cetera, will be brought up by others. I wanted to point out that as of 4:30 today, the last time I looked, there were 41 pages of comments submitted to the commission in opposition of this rezone request. There is not one single page of comments supporting it. We believe this is a clear mandate and representation of the residents, and therefore reiterate our request to issue an unfavorable recommendation for the proposal. Thank you for your consideration.
All right, thank you.
All right. To the Plan Commission, I'm Greg McDaniel, 3220 South 875 East, immediately north of Pulte's proposed entrance at 3302. We moved to Zionsville in 2002. This is our 3rd home here, and have been beyond blessed to have found such a community to raise a family. Our eldest is a Zionsville High School graduate, youngest is a current freshman. My wife and I are very active in the community and always will be. We are, the McDaniels, invested for life in the town of Zionsville. Our southwest corner is our quiet retreat in our property. We have 8 garden beds, we have honeybees, and we have a squatter. It's a woodchuck we nicknamed Woody. He hides underneath our shed. This area of our property is backed by the Smith Farm to the south and screened by trees on all 3 other sides. That privacy vanishes with the current proposed plan. 3 homes will be backed up to that chunk of our property, and a walk path for the neighbors to see what we're doing. I asked for more time. Pulte's letter arrived days before the November 6th meeting, too late for us to attend. Neighbors report Pulte simply won't negotiate anyway. Their rep noted that they could build 500 homes on the Smith Farm, another reason to keep this land R1. R1 caps density below 0.5 acres, 0.5 homes per acre, matching our rural estate area. Rezoning to R2 erodes the uniqueness that defines this part of Zionsville. We're not against growth. We're just asking for a better fit. Fewer, higher quality homes, 100-foot setbacks, evergreen screening, and berms to protect the existing neighbor's privacy. To this committee, please table this vote tonight. Give us time to work with Pulte and this committee to make an equitable plan for all. Thank you very much for your consideration.
All right, thank you.
Hi there. My name is Kyle Schmidt. I'm a veterinarian, and my young family and I live at 8370 East 300 South. And we are part of the group that met the other night. We asked for an unfavorable recommendation by the commission to rezone on to R2 density, or at least very least a continuance, so that affected individuals can meet with Pulte and try to negotiate a reasonable solution. This area supports a diverse range of species and is home to multiple species of turtles, frogs, bald eagles, great horned owls, barred owls, deer, foxes, coyotes, and many other species. Avid birders amongst our neighbors have identified more than 70 species of songbirds on their properties alone. Many of these species cross the road and are supported by features that are set to be destroyed within the proposed developmental property, such as the woods in the northwest, the pond and the pasture, and the field. Additionally, migrating species such as the sandhill cranes annually stop here on their migration, and the bats use this as seasonal migration. Among the species that adjacent residents have seen on their properties are endangered species, including both the little brown bat and the eastern box turtle, as well as numerous species of special concern. Pulte will likely respond that they have a T&E letter from the DNR indicating no T&E species within 0.5 miles of the proposed development. That letter does not represent comprehensive field studies, and I have been in ongoing contact with the DNR since the government reopening to ensure that these present species receive the appropriate protection and that harm is mitigated to the voiceless species that call rural Zionsville home. I have also been in contact with companies that work with local wildlife and have access to wildlife heat maps and photographs that we are sharing with the DNR to aid in their data. After speaking with the DNR herpetologist about the eastern box turtle sighting, I would like to request a special review by the DNR of this project. We furthermore worry about the ripple effects, that reduction of local insects that the removal of the field, woods, and the sterilization of the pond will have on local food chains. One little brown bat can eat as many as 1,000 to 3,000 insects a night. And these little brown bats are the same bats that migrate to Mexico and are intrinsic to the production of tequila, by the way. We, as a group of concerned neighbors, want to petition for a naturalized wildlife corridors through this development. We want to see protection of existing trees, wetlands, and wildlife, light mitigation strategies so that nocturnal wildlife and fireflies are not affected. That wetland mitigation be performed on this property and not within Indiana's wetland bank. If species can no longer be supported by this environment or migrate away, this not only steals a key charm and beauty to northern Zionsville, but it further pressurizes the status of each species of special concern and of endangered species. I would ask that you each take a pause in your decision to listen to those who have no voice. In the words of the Lorax, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's just not.
All right, thank you.
My name is Jonathan Yim. I live at 8430 East, 300 South, so I'm just above the Pulte development proposal. And yeah, we found out, like they said, in pretty short notice of all this happening. I missed the first meeting. I apologize for that, for the one with Melissa Gerard. But afterwards, I was able to at least hand out some papers to our block of neighbors around this development, and quite a few indicated, well, I have like quite a few, meaning I probably had about 25 papers, and I had 7 people at home. Everyone is in favor of slowing down this development and getting something that's compatible with their homes and with their neighbors. So yes, I'm speaking in opposition to the Smith-Mansouri rezone, the proposal of 161 acres. My wife and I moved here 5 years ago, or sorry, we moved here 12 years ago. It's on a 5-acre lot, and we specifically chose it because it's on a farm. The farms were across the street, and that's what we love as neighbors. We do have a couple neighbors next to us, which Kyle's one of them that just spoke. And we intentionally chose Zionsville because we knew that Zionsville, like years ago, so I was a resident here 30 years ago, and my wife would drive the kids up. Why did she drive them to Zionsville? Why would she do that? To go see the horse farms. So she'd take our little, 2 to 7-year-old kids, drive them up around here, see the horse farms. Unfortunately, of course, lots of those are gone, but there still is a fair amount of space, and that's why we picked Zionsville. I'm concerned that the proposed Pulte development is not consistent with the present existing neighbors. I don't have any problem with estates, 2 to 3 acre lots that would be closer to the fitting current housing lots, which are more like 2 to 10 acres. More privacy would also be better maintained by providing a buffer, an area of closer to like 100 to 200 feet, which one of our people that spoke was talking about the corner lot, John Osloff, and he had proposed in his thing to have 200-foot buffer space. At least along, for example, like the very far south, there's nothing there yet. So if you looked at the north, if you looked at the upper west and the upper east, that's where we have homes right now. And even if you could make that upper area more amenable to us, for example, by having, for example, like a 10-foot berm, a minimum of like 3 rows of evergreens and maybe some deciduous trees, then you'd make more of a buffer that is compatible with what already exists there. Let's see. As far as the southern area, which is not developed, it's more in the middle of that plan. Nobody lives really next to those. So if they wanted to do 1/2 to 1 acre lots, that's a brand new area, but it would I don't know, mesh, I think, better. So limiting the overall number of houses would help in not drastically increasing the traffic and also the other negative impacts upon wildlife as well. In addition, while Zionsville can definitely benefit from an increased tax base, as noted in the Zionsville plan, only 4% of the base currently comes from commercial buildings. And we need more of a commercial base as opposed to continuing to build more housing developments, because these housing developments also will increase the cost of Zionsville by increasing demand of local infrastructure, roads, schools, fire protection, utilities, et cetera. In conclusion, I am asking for the Planning Commission to recommend against this rezoning request for an R2 rural status, or at a minimum, to please recommend for at least a continuance. I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name's Alex Sutherland. I live over at 3345 South 875. Got some neighbors across the street that are sitting here that live in the 2 houses across, and they're a little more directly affected. I'm just going to be short here and say I don't know anything about Pulte. I've heard of them. But I think they were trying to jam about 100 more houses than what's going to fit in there, number one. Number two, they could take the space from that 100 houses and build a school and a police department for all the additional traffic, because if you follow Michigan Road up 300 from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, it's very challenging. If you're on your way to Whitestown, or in our neck of the woods, it's rubberneck, bottleneck traffic. If you go out to your mailbox on the road, there's a good chance that you could probably get clipped if you're not paying attention, because we got cement trucks and that flying down the road at about 50 miles an hour on 875. Since I've moved here, I've observed them take basically all the farmland from, I guess they call it Oak Street, and then they built a little road, Maryland there, and they got like something going on, some kind of another project. But then as you go up the road, just about everywhere where there was a field, they want to put houses. They're even proposing to put houses across from the brand-new elementary school, Trailside, which is another project. They're trying to fit like 31 units in this little field. So I think that they're being overly ambitious, and I would ask everybody that spoke before me to address those concerns, because we got to live there. You know, we didn't move to Zionsville. I mean, I could have moved to Carmel or to Westfield if I wanted this kind of stuff. So I throw that out at you because you guys are the ones that are going to decide, you know, how much is enough housing development in our community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else? Would petitioner like to respond?
Just procedurally, so we did have a neighbor meeting. That was on November 6th. Letters were mailed out 7 to 10 days beforehand, which is pretty typical. Do want to apologize to the folks that had a conflict or wanted to be here, you know, in this space when the comp plan meeting was going on. We scheduled our meeting, not knowing that the comp plan was going to take effect that night. So for those of you who experienced that, my apologies. As for the rest of the communication, we did comply with all the notice requirements of the town, be it mailing, signage, newspaper, what have you. And then I think there were some misrepresentations about the discussions that were had at the neighbor meeting. Nowhere did we say that we could build 500 houses, because that's not the plan. That's not what we're trying to do. So I just wanted to make sure that it was communicated appropriately that this was the plan that was shown. And there was some discussion with some of the neighbors of, well, this is zoned R1 and you can only build X number of homes, you know, on that, as opposed to the plan that's being proposed. And I said, yes, you're correct. That's what the current zoning is, and this is the proposed plan that's in front of the town. So just wanted to make sure those things were clear. We were very, very, very open and willing to meet with folks, be it anytime before tonight or even after tonight. We're still willing to do so. So if you have contact information for us, please reach out. We're happy to meet with you. We have met with a couple of folks already. We can talk about things like buffers and what they want to be, what they need to be, you know, how to screen people appropriately. We're happy to go through those hoops and talk through those things. There are some conversations. There's a gentleman that talked about dust mitigation. So as we develop the site, if we need to have water trucks or anything out to make sure that the ground stays wet so the dust doesn't fly, we can certainly do that. We've accommodated that in the past. One gentleman did mention traffic, and I think I wanted to go through this with you all, and particularly staff as well. So the town has a road impact fee, and the zone improvement plan is the document that's necessary to establish a road impact fee. And so the zone improvement plan that the town passed, I think that was updated in 2023, incorporated the intersection of 300 and 875 up in this area. I'm sure we're all familiar with it. The town's zone improvement plan said that there did need to be a roundabout there, so the information that our traffic study came back and substantiated that was true. So to the extent that there is a motion tonight or in the future, we will be complying with paying the town's road impact fee and not necessarily building that improvement because it was already accounted for and are collecting fees and so on for that. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. But as far as tonight, I think I'd love to hear any more questions or comments that you all have. To the extent that there's anything else that we need to work on, we're happy to do so. We're probably willing to continue this item to make sure that we do allow time to meet with some of these folks, but I definitely wanted to get more feedback from the Plan Commission this evening and not so much delay the public hearing so that we can have the open, honest dialogue back and forth. Thank you.
All right, open it up to members of the Plan Commission. Questions, comments?
I mean, I've been kind of a big proponent of paying attention to what's coming and what's being presented next. So to kind of put some of this into context, the proposed change in our comp plan shows for a mixed use in that area, as well as like a neighborhood activity center. That mixed use allows for 2 to 4 units per acre, and some may exceed 4 units per acre in that mixed use. So, and when you look at the part on the east side of it, talking about a conventional subdivision, that's when you do get into a 0.33 gross density units per acre. So just to kind of, like I said, put into perspective what we're going to hear a little bit tonight, as you know, in correlation with what's being presented today as far as density in this neighborhood. So
I would follow up to Kendrick's statements and say that the northern portion of the proposed development falls into an area on the proposed comp plan that would also include rural and estate residential, which has an even lower density requirement.
Which is essentially what's there now, or
Yeah.
a lot of what's there.
resembles what is currently there.
I'm going to point out, it's a comprehensive plan study. It's been out for a month or two. We've referenced it both at the BZA and Planning Commission, but I will point out, this is just a draft comprehensive plan. It has not been approved yet, and we have to deal with the documents in front of us currently. Well, I appreciate knowing what's coming potentially. Nothing's been approved on this comprehensive plan yet, so I respect, understand, and appreciate the input on it, but in my decision process, it has little bearing on this project.
I think we have a little bit of responsibility, though, to look
I
and see
agree.
what's coming. I respect what you're saying as far as the objectivity of it, very much. And I feel like this, you know, when you go out there and you drive that area and you look at, you know, the homes that are north of here, that are east of here, those are your, you know, typical rural estate homes. And I think putting in, to be honest, what, you know, Pulte is good at building are kind of your Vinyl Village homes, just to be frank. I don't know that even really fits in that area. So I think that it would behoove us to, you know, we've kind of heard everybody that lives around there to allow them a better chance to kind of sit down and discuss a little more. I think honestly too, this is an opportunity for Pulte to kind of level up their game in this area as well, you know, and when products that are offered. I know you do that in some other parts of the country, have more of kind of your bigger lots and estate, you know, type homes. It's more of a signature series, but if you want to talk about what Zionsville is demanding, it sounds like that's, you know, a product that we're demanding in this area. So maybe an opportunity for you guys to level up, but.
I'm looking at the future plan, or unapproved future plan. It's, you know, you've got the, you know, R1, R2 that's existing there next to it. You've got the estate lots north, and then you've got that, you know, mixed use with the regional activity center kind of right there. It's, you know, it looks like a weird convergence of.
It is in a unique area, yeah, where we're trying to kind of combine the two. You know,
So-
Whitestown and Zionsville and the rural, it's a very unique area.
I mean, I think, I mean, under the existing zoning, the way it is, I think R1 is probably appropriate at this point in time. I think that, you know, if you take a look and as you move out, you get less dense. You go from, you know, R2, R1, and then up to the estate lots that's north of there. I see that makes sense. And then I've got this here, and it just, boom. So,
So we understand that the numbers involved. So number of units per acre in R1 is it 0.5?
what is it?
The number of units with R1 on this site would be 161 units.
That's one per
But
one.
how about per acre?
One.
It can be
then-
denser within the development, but all the open space counts against the,
Right, and I just, for the record, so everyone can hear it, they're asking for an R2 designation, which allows for how many units per acre?
269.
but that's what they're requesting, but they could actually go
Yeah.
denser than that, correct?
I think it's 269. But I would have to do math.
Okay, that would be, so they're, what they're asking for is the maximum density for this property?
In R2, yes.
Maximum density for what would be the rezoned
The
property?
rezoned, right.
Yeah. I just think that abuts right too closely to the rural estate areas immediately to the north. That would be a massive juxtaposition if you're driving through there and you look left and you see high density, and you look right and you see picturesque estate lots. There's no flow in the transition there in what's proposed.
I'm just wondering, future state, so let's say we're 6 months from now, it's approved. So are they requesting going from, so if it gets to be mixed use, as it's outlined here with a center, what would be the zoning that would support that? So it's R1 right now, so if they were coming in for a rezone to address this, what would they be asking for in the future state?
For a rezone to do a mixed-use concept,
So it'd have to be a PUD?
that would be a PUD, yeah. Our zoning ordinance doesn't really currently allow for that kind of flexibility, so it would be a PUD.
Okay, but okay, all right, Matt, you're right. So I'm just trying to think the density that potentially could go in there.
Or they can seek rezoning for portions of the land and
Yeah.
instead of a whole cloth rezoning, they could do sections to get that mixed use.
So I'm just looking at this, so Regional Activity Center, could that be like a golf course? I mean, just what would fit to that, or is it just
You're talking on the new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the permitted uses, the primary usage for a regional activity center, retail, restaurant, hotel, professional office, medical office, personal services. With secondary being townhomes, apartments, condos, single-family, religious institutions, parks, and open
This is
space.
just-
And then when you're asking about the future potential, what would be allowed in a mixed residential, it's 2 to 4 units per acre, but it's allowed for some to exceed 4 units per acre. Well, it's a comp plan, it's not a rezone plan.
Yeah,
you
no,
but
I know.
Just going through that exercise of looking forward, which I think is important to do when we're talking about 160-plus acres in a, pretty,
For me, it feels like a whole cloth approach to a large tract of land that's been assembled. So it's kind of like, even though there's 3 types of housing, it generally is quite similar. To me, it feels like this should be more of a master planned development that is transitioning nicely from the rural slash estate homes to something more dense in the middle, where it can be accommodated, and let the transitions happen within this site instead of at the edges of this site. I just think there's a lot of opportunities here for a better design. I'm not opposed to housing. I'm not opposed to mixed use, even if that's what ultimately gets adopted in the comprehensive plan. But I feel like if we move forward with this, we're already deviating from a comprehensive plan that we haven't even yet adopted.
Well, I mean, in today's comp plan, though, you know.
Yep, I understand, but we literally will need to redraft the comprehensive
Well,
plan.
yeah.
That's the draft. You ready for that, Adam?
I mean,
He's
but if
making
we-
notes already.
Yeah.
But if we take I mean, the existing, I mean, just curious, I mean, I tend to agree that the current most desirable use is exactly what you just stated. You know, it's, you know, if you look at the growth out, it would be probably most desirable current use, responsible growth, that sort of thing, so, under the current conditions. So, you know, I'm having a hard time putting 269 homes in there at this point in time, that's my thoughts.
I would agree with that.
I have some questions on the traffic study that you guys have done. And somewhere I've seen, in the many documents I've reviewed here, there was a commitment to improve the intersection of 875 and 300 there with a roundabout. Does that sound familiar?
That was in the staff report.
Okay.
The traffic impact study does warrant a roundabout at that intersection in 2033, I believe. 2030. Hold on.
I guess my biggest question is, I know the state has had discussions with landowners up and down that section of the road. It's 146th Street. You get over to Whitestown, it's going to be a
That's fine.
4-lane boulevard. At the county line, it's a 4-lane boulevard, working this way. So this is going to be a major thoroughfare through the community in the near future. Has there been discussions with the state or county, whatever entity it was that's in the process of doing that?
Yeah, so a couple things. Yes, we have met with the county, and they have asked for sufficient half right-of-way on our side of the street that we can control, you know, on our 300 south frontage. And I think that plays into a lot of the density transition conversation. You know, I guess we tried to balance, well, hold on, I'll go into that in just a second. But yes, so the town zone improvement plan for the road impact fee that you see on the screen, that was done in 2023. And that said that a roundabout would be needed at that intersection of 875 and 300 in 10 years, so 2033. When we did our traffic impact study, it reflected a 2030 timeline for that roundabout. However, what we are saying, what's in our commitments and what differs from the staff report is that we're saying we're happy to pay our fair share, and our fair share is that trip fee, the road impact fee that the town has been collecting on other projects and will collect from ours, so that we can facilitate the improvement later on.
So you're willing to pay the impact fee on all 260 some odd units and, okay.
That's collected as
And that's
they
collected.
get
as-
certificate occupancy, right?
That is already a requirement.
Yes, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
that
trying to
wasn't-
get
That
at.
wasn't a gift.
It's not an over and above, it's a clarification, because the staff report suggests that if you were to make a recommendation, that recommendation includes the road improvements identified in the traffic study. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that that's required in a future date, and the town already has a plan in place to collect those dollars to make those improvements.
Okay.
And then if you have anything else, go ahead.
No,
Otherwise,
that was my big question, was that intersection, and, you know, it's gonna be a challenging roundabout to put in there. As I said, I think this road eventually is gonna go 4 lanes, and I was concerned about a single-lane roundabout going in there based off the staff report. So, but you're saying you're not even willing to throw the money in for that right there, you're gonna pay through the impact fees, and that's fine, so.
So the county did say, hey, we need, I think it was 75 or 90 feet of the south half of the right-of-way. So there is definitely plans to make 146th Street continue west. And then, of course, Albert S. White's already semi-improved for that to continue on into the future. So I guess there was a lot of chatter down here while I have the microphone, if I could. It's pretty confusing for us, and I understand we're in this weird time of we are talking about a new comprehensive plan. At the beginning, I heard 269 is way too dense. That's a 1.67 units to the acre density, which is in line with Rockbridge at 1.6, Devonshire at 1.7, underneath the EPCON deal that just got approved at 2.0, right at 1.6 of Preserve at Spring Knoll and 1.4 at Cobblestone. So we felt that we were in the ballpark, especially considering that our northern frontage is going to be a 4-lane road, divided highway, sometime in the future. I know that doesn't exist today. And I know that road is going to change the rural character, regardless if this project is here or not. But after we break tonight, I just wanted to make sure I heard correctly. I heard 2 to 4 units to the acre was not a problem if it's compliant with the new comprehensive plan. Did I hear that correctly? I don't want to misrepresent anything. I just want to leave here with clarity, because in order to do that, we're changing, the orange as identified, that's your 2 to 4 units to the acre. That's a majority of the site. That's 107 acres of the 161 acres. So that's pretty much the entire acreage that's not our 56 acres of open space today can be 2 to 4 units to the acre. I'm not naive enough to realize that when I come back with a plan with that many units, heads are going to pop off from all sides. So I just want to make sure that we are trying. We did some homework. This is kind of what we came to. We are surrounded to the west by R2. I know we're R1 and we're requesting R2, but to the west we're R2, to the east we're R2, and to the northeast we're R2. So guidance would be helpful is kind of what I'm saying.
The future proposed comprehensive plan's not been approved, so it's hard to, we can't base our decision off of that. And I don't know when that's going to be approved, is what I would say. Obviously, it's having its initial public hearing with us right after we get done with this. I think this potentially raises questions just associated with that right then. I look at this and it looks like what the future is looking like a PUD, like the whole thing put together, but again, we can't factor that in. It's a very odd, time is what I would say when it comes to these things.
I would still argue, though, that there's transitional issues here that need to be addressed. I think that giving Pulte time to talk with neighbors, they've requested it. I think they've expressed interest in also having those conversations with neighbors. No harm is really caused by asking for that revisit, and maybe they will solve the problems that we're struggling with here in their own conversations. But I'm not a person that just looks at a density number and says, no, I won't approve that. I'm looking for quality design, paying attention to transitions, pedestrian ways, aesthetics, preservation of green spaces, that kind of thing. And if you need to cluster, away from existing residences and go to higher numbers there to get the net numbers, again, I'm okay with that. I can't speak for anyone else here, and certainly can't speak to how that necessarily plays out in the ordinances, but that may constitute needing to come in as a PUD instead, which is EPCON, they came in as a PUD. It's part of the reason why they got the number that they got.
They're over 55 restricted too.
Yes,
so that's
there's other factors there that lent themselves to getting an approval. But I just think that there's some things that could be done here. If you choose to go towards the new comprehensive plan and can justify that, and maybe we're a month further down the road and know if it's more likely or less likely to be adopted, that would help your case too.
You bring up a good point, though, too, is that right now, people are looking at this 2-lane road, which in 5 years is going to be 4-lane. Is that the current plan? So that's going to dramatically change how things are in that area, obviously, too. I mean, I'm willing to give it a continuance to next month if, I mean, I'm open to doing that. Is everybody else good with that?
Yeah, and I mean, I would pay I would pay attention to, the meeting tonight. I would stay, so maybe
not leaving, yeah.
more clarification. And then also, if it does go to the town council, or when it does, whenever that is, I would definitely stay, in tune to that. And part of what Brad was saying as well, talking about kind of the density in areas, it falls right in line with the additional notes on the plan that'll be, composed as far as existing tree stands and fence rows and sensitive nature areas be preserved and incorporated, and talking about access, so.
The thing about a PUD, though, is you can also go from dense on, down south, and then north, it's back to a state lot. So there's a lot of flexibility just within that, so.
Another thing I'd like to point out, because you're wanting a little feedback, is I would like to see, I know you put a trail between the two segments of this in the conceptual layout, but some interconnectivity would be really nice between both sides of that.
Interconnectivity? Yeah, okay.
I don't see a kid have to drive a mile around to get to his friend's house on the other side of a subdivision, so.
It's not clear to me, you talked about 3 different products. It's not clear to me if those are just going to be intermingled with one another, or if there's certain phases that are going to be one product versus another. So the smaller single-story houses, where are they going to go on this versus the larger homes? That would be helpful.
How many 55 age-restricted homes were going to go in? Or were they going to be restricted?
These were not going to be age restricted.
They weren't? Okay.
Now, the house itself. Targeted. Just
Is the
by
target,
design,
okay.
it's, the buyer profile is.
What was the number for that group?
We would probably say that's somewhere in the 75 to 100 range, maybe. Brad, was that your comment? The how much and where?
Yes.
Okay,
It
yeah.
would be good to show, similar to what we do with PUDs, is if you're going to offer multiple products and they're not just peppered in with one another, I think it's helpful for us to get a vision of what you're striving for.
We do traditionally pod those out, so it's not, 2-story house, ranch house of a completely different home series.
Sure.
The challenge here was that the 2 home types fit on the same lot color, and I didn't want to make this too busy, but we can work through that and show it creatively as we move forward.
All right, so.
I would make a motion to.
If I could, before motion happens, I would just like to ask Mr. Emmett if 1-month continuance is going to be enough. It sounds like there may be some considerable redesign, and you would have to get that to staff in time to review and do a report. And so 30 days sounds like a while, but it's like 2 weeks. So
Yeah,
is,
I'll add, we have holidays in between
Yeah.
there that take away from that time, and holidays immediately after.
right, so.
I'm leaning, it's probably going to take longer than that, particularly because of Thanksgiving. When is the resubmittal date? Do you have that calendar in front of you by chance? Because I think I heard earlier tonight that the next meeting was on December 15th.
Correct, yeah.
And so I
Yeah,
imagine.
the next meeting would be on December 15th, so resubmittal for that is about 2 weeks ahead of
Sure.
December 15th.
Yeah.
So,
Let's go ahead and call it January at this point. I know
Okay.
there's going to be significant interest. I don't want people to show up thinking
Sure.
that it's going to be on the agenda and it's not on the
Right.
agenda, so.
yep. Then I would also jump in and ask, there is a time limit here.
Yeah.
If you want to continue to the January meeting, if you would be willing to waive the right to a speedy hearing and allow the commission extra time to have that.
Dan, you want to add to that, or just clarify that for the audience?
Yeah, we just ask that you say that you'll waive it, because otherwise we're bound to make that decision quickly. But that's for your benefit, so we'd like you just to say that.
Yeah, didn't want to interrupt. Yes, Pulte agrees to waive the requirement of the public hearing decision.
All right, yep. we have a motion to continue to January, what is it? 20th. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I won't be here for that, but.
You can come.
You're
invited.
We would like you to.
Testify.
Yeah, I just move that we continue this to the January 20th Plan Commission meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
Take roll, please.
Brad Johnson.
Aye.
Hendrick Davis.
Aye.
Nick Plopper.
Aye.
Josh Fedor.
Aye.
Jim Hurst.
Aye.
David Franz.
Aye.
Andrew Cossack. Aye.
Thank you
They
for-
will see you in 2 months.
Thank you for your feedback. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
All right. Next on the docket, draft comprehensive plan, which probably raised some questions tonight. So, uniquely Zionsville comprehensive plan, town of Zionsville.
Roger, do you have it pulled up? Awesome. My name is Adam Pieper with HWC Engineering. Our address is 135 North Pennsylvania Street, Suite 2800, Indianapolis, Indiana. Glad to be back. Obviously, was here last month to just kind of not really introduce, but continue the conversation regarding the comprehensive plan. Since that time, we did have a public presentation down here a couple weeks ago on November 6th, and are back for the public hearing. So again, I want to thank the members of our steering committee, some of which are here this evening or were here earlier, as well as staff and leadership who have provided guidance through this process. Again, just to reiterate, the purpose and intent of the comprehensive plan is to provide a long-range guide for both development but also preservation and broader community investment within the town, used by you all, town council, and staff as you are tasked with making decisions regarding future development. But we also see it as an important tool for property owners to understand the future of the community, as well as, again, making decisions about transportation, utility, and other community investments. Indiana law requires 3 things at minimum to be in the comprehensive plan. That's a statement of objectives for future development, statement of policy for land use development, and state of policy for the development of public ways, lands, and utilities. We certainly think this plan meets those minimum requirements. And then beyond that, the comprehensive plan is prerequisite to a zoning ordinance and should be used to inform zoning, subdivision control, and other development regulations. This process started back the middle of last year with kickoff staff and organization of the project steering committee. We held a number of community engagement efforts in late summer, July, August, September. We created a project website that's been maintained through the process. We had 4 initial workshops. 3 of those were in person. 1 was in online. I went into more detail about this last month, so I won't hit on engagement or process too much, but we'll just say those initial workshops had almost 200 participants collectively. The initial survey had more than 450 responses. We had an interactive map on the website that the community created more than 200 features on, and of those, 9,000 were liked and 3,000 were disliked. We had a number of focus group meetings with more than 60 attendees. After several steering committee meetings and working through some goals and guiding principles development, we had what we called the Big Ideas Open House, and that was attended by more than 100 folks. We took that feedback, went back to the project steering committee, refined, made amendments, and ultimately created a more comprehensive set of goals and objectives, as well as draft land use, transportation, pathways, and other maps. Those were shared at a couple community strategies open houses that were attended by more than 150 people. And then, like I said, we've had a project website throughout the process that had almost 7,000 unique visitors. So that, like I said, with the public presentation a couple weeks ago, has brought us here. We have tried to balance a number of diverse viewpoints and diverse interests through this process. And ultimately, again, are here at the hearing to get your input, to get additional community input, to assess how we have done with that. So the plan is organized into 12 chapters. It also features an appendix that was added with a number of key terms and how they are used throughout the plan. Again, some of the introductory process, public participation summary, but then really these content chapters related to land use, housing, community facilities, and so on. The transportation and economic development chapters also were given a particular focus and really emphasized by the town through the ultimate RFP process and then scope of work with us. The implementation chapter translates those broad vision and goals into a series of short and long-term actions, as well as how to use the plan, how to maintain and monitor it and update as necessary. I would say, I'm not going to read you the vision statement, it's in there, but the key kind of philosophy and I think message embodied in the comprehensive plan is really this idea of balancing character growth and fiscal sustainability into the future. With that is protecting and enhancing the established community character that we heard throughout was just so strong. I think we've heard tonight and with some of the previous petitions as well. A large and significant acknowledgement that there is an interest in diversifying the town's tax base and growing employment opportunities with that diversified tax base in mind. That being said, not everywhere in the community is appropriate for commercial or industrial development. There will be an interest, continued interest, and certain locations will be appropriate for housing growth, and that should be held to a high standard. So ultimately, this translates to pursuing and then maintaining ultimately a long-term balanced development mix. The plan is certainly a lot more than the future land use map, but I know that gets referred to most oftenly, certainly as part of your conversations. If you want to go to the next one, Roger. Back one. There we go. So the land use map was developed based on a number of different inputs. Certainly community input was one of those. Existing conditions, both in terms of use, but also natural features. In some places, it was because zoning was already in place to permit some type of development, but maybe it's still being used for agriculture. And so a lot of the future land use map is the existing land use map. Certainly the bright yellow areas that represent the conventional subdivisions and are representative of a lot of area of town, kind of between Oak Street and up to not quite 300 South. The rural and estate residential areas, which are kind of the tan color on here, certainly the Hunt Club area and the far south part of town, and then also the large area between 300 South and then going north up to State Road 32. Some of the key concepts for the future are this idea of mixed residential, which you all were just talking about. I do want to clarify. That is, so that is intended to be a variety of residential products, not just all single-family homes, but at the same time, not all townhomes, not all senior living or something like that. So to put it in perspective or maybe relate it, that is, representative of wild air. So that's why the under construction wild air development is in this orange mixed residential area. Similarly, Stonegate, that includes a mixture of single family homes, townhomes, there is the small neighborhood component. And that's what the pink areas, so there's two different scales of what we're calling activity centers. There's the neighborhood activity centers, which are the lighter pink. So that would be, again, neighborhood serving, small scale, connected via bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure to the surrounding neighborhoods they serve. The larger or higher activity centers, the regional activity centers, so that is the Village, that is the southeast corner of State Road 32 and 421, and then also on the west side of town where Whitestown Parkway intersects, State Road 267. Those would be the regional, so include a more significant commercial, maybe hospitality, restaurant, retail, office, but also a potential for a residential component in there. Again, those are mixed use, whereas the mixed residential is residential, but a mixture of residential. And then, like I said, significant focus on diversifying land use mix and employment opportunities. So some of that can happen within those activity centers, but then also the office and innovation and employment flex classifications. That corresponds to existing business districts in town along Bennett Parkway, Mayflower Park Drive, so southeast corner, into Creekside Corporate Park as well. But then looking towards the future, it's the area surrounding the Indianapolis Executive Airport, some additional opportunities on State Road 32, and then to the west in what was Perry Township before the township consolidations, and again, that kind of key location between I-65 and the railroad to the west. So I know some of this is duplicative with what we talked about last month, and was more in depth at the public presentation a couple weeks ago, but for anyone new or just joining us, I do want to touch on that. Beyond that, like I said, all of those classifications are enumerated more specifically in the plan with a description and what those primary and secondary uses should be, as well as some additional considerations and some precedent imagery. And then on the transportation side, the future thoroughfare map is a key mechanism by which to require the right-of-way dedication for future improvements. So this classifies the roadway network into a hierarchy. Interstates, obviously, you don't have to worry about those, but primary and secondary arterials, as well as major and minor collectors. I do want to note there was some discussion at the public presentation, as well as some of the comments that have come in since then, about some roadways and being concerned with their classification. A lot of the classifications are a continuation of the 2011 transportation plan. We have certainly changed some of those to correspond with the future land use map. But in all cases where we see the Oak Street to Main and Sycamore through the Village as a primary arterial, there is additional language in here that I've kind of noted off to the side. And sorry, that's small and tough to read, but that in some locations, roadway widening or full implementation of the standard right-of-way that corresponds to these roadway classifications is going to be impractical or undesirable due to established development patterns, historic or environmental assets, or the intent to preserve the existing character of the area. So while that may be identified as a principal arterial that has a 120-foot right-of-way, no one is saying widen Oak Street east of 6th Street going into the Village. Similarly, I think there are some collectors. Starkey Road was one that was mentioned at the public presentation, which is a major collector. Again, that's a continuation of the 2011 plan. But understanding that the existing right-of-way of Starkey Road is not going to facilitate or allow for improvement up to that full major collector standard. We still think it's an important roadway and may be tasked with carrying more traffic in the future, but we're not saying turn it into a highway. I will say, so following the presentation, we have received some additional comments from staff. There were some excellent points and questions identified at that meeting that have necessitated some other changes. And I think there are still a couple items outstanding where I thought we had maybe addressed a comment, and now we're getting feedback that interested in some additional tweaks and things like that. So rather than pushing out an amended draft last Friday or even today and potentially confusing this matter, and also, it's disingenuous to come and expect a recommendation without your review and allowing time for the public to review that. I will say, if you want to go to the next slide, we are tracking all edits now from the 1031 draft. So this will be shared when we, and whatever else comes after this, will be shared with the next round, so you don't have to review all 200 and however many pages again. So with that, I would just say, again, we're here to better understand community concerns about the plan. I think we've gotten a number of compliments. I, again, understand there are still some concerns, and I think we knew going into that. Just in the comments related to, or posted from the draft on the website, one of them is, we don't need a community center, and 2 comments later, it's can't emphasize the need for a community center enough. There continue to be a couple areas on the land use map where we've debated back and forth as part of the steering committee. And again, we want to make sure this plan is reflective of your interests, the community's interests, and again, are looking for direction if additional changes are desired. So what we would ask is, again, hopefully we can have a good conversation after this. Our intent would be to submit a revised draft next Monday. So that is 3 weeks in advance of your December meeting where we would like to be back. And then ultimately, again, this is up to you as far as how it moves forward. But ultimately, we would like a recommendation to the town council, and they will ultimately adopt or could amend further the plan. Thanks.
All right. If anybody would like to come up and make a comment on this, step forward, state your name, address.
Ed Kiernan, 795 Sugarbush Drive. This is my first town hall meeting, and I have to admit I'm thoroughly impressed. I took for granted that the things that took place in town was kind of random. Didn't realize you guys were sitting around making the kinds of decisions you're making.
Well, we're Plan Commission, so.
Well, nevertheless, I'm still impressed.
Well, thank you.
There are some things, though, I'd like to point out. Some of it's very basic, and perhaps some of it has been understated. So let me open up this piece of paper. I didn't glue it. I noticed that the plan that's being planned at this point, not out yet, not approved, thank you, Josh, for pointing it out. It has an interesting name. I'm not sure you paid any attention to it. The name is uniquely Zionsville. So what the hell is unique about Zionsville? Well, I can tell you it's not Carmel. I used to live in Carmel. It's not Fishes, thank God. It's Zionsville. It's a place you could be proud to live in. And when people ask me, where do you live, Ed? I live in Zionsville. I'm happy about that. And I'm happy because of what Zionsville has to offer. I am curious, how many in this room, show of hands, have read all 219 pages of the plan? That's a lot better than I thought. I got through it. And all through it, it tells me why Zionsville is unique. There are things I didn't realize, and there are some things I did realize. For instance, walking in this building, if you made the mistake of going upstairs, you'll see a sign. What does the sign say? Zionsville, Tree City. I didn't know Zionsville was a tree city. My backyard is full of trees, unfortunately, a lot of leaves. But the fact is that Zionsville is unique because we pay attention to nature. We care about the wetlands. We care about the animals. And we care about the trees. Well, I'm here to talk about a very small portion of what's going on. And it was mentioned, thankfully, it looks like perhaps people realize that Starkey is not something you can expand very much. Currently, it's a 2-lane country road filled with hills, filled with turns. It's been 2 years, 2 rounds, lanes rather, forever. You can't do anything with that unless you rip out all the trees. Can you imagine Zionsville, the tree city, ripping out all the trees on Starkey? They might as well change the name of the town to Zionsville, change to our city. It doesn't make any sense. That road can never be more than a 2-lane highway and make any sense. And what is the excuse for it? Why do we want to make it bigger? Why do we make 6 bigger? So we can get traffic off of Main? I've lived here for 48 years. I don't know of anyone, under any circumstance, that would say, well, let's get rid of the traffic on Main. We can, of course, take Hawthorne, and we can go from 6th Avenue, and then we can go to Starkey, and if we're lucky, we'll reach Ford Road. Well, if you want to go to Ford Road, you just go up to Oak, and you take a left. You're at Ford Road. Do you want to take the Parkway south? Well, then you take Zionsville Road south, and you go down to 86th Street, and you pick up the Parkway. Nobody is going to go through the town of Zionsville to use Starkey Road. It's a waste of money, and it's a waste of trees. So finally, I just want to leave a point. Zionsville needs to protect its uniqueness, not destroy it. And if we build on Starkey and 6th, we are in fact destroying it. Point of reference, some of those trees are 20, 40 feet tall. It's old growth trees. And I take it personally because some of them are as old as I am. And that's saying something. We'll never see the end of it. What are they going to put in, a boxwood plant to replace it? Doesn't make any sense. So pay attention. If you have not read the document, please read it. It's filled with great stuff. I'm very impressed with it. Things I didn't know, things I should have known. It reminds me of why Zionsville is, in fact, unique. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Greg Holbrook, 1945 South, 1100 East. I'd like to call your attention to the part of the comprehensive plan as proposed for 1100 East between State Road 32 and 200 South. That section, that 2-mile section of road currently has 32 houses along it and a few farm fields. Right smack in the middle of that section, the comprehensive plan proposes office and innovation. If you've ever driven up that road, office and innovation does not fit there. I understand it's near the airport. We put it in there. And I understand that it's also difficult to develop what you do with it. But with all those houses already there, more than one every 1/10 of a mile, and they're going to take the center section of it, and their proposal in the comprehensive plan is to make that office and innovation. I get office and innovation on 32. I get office and innovation on Michigan Road. I don't get office and innovation on 1100 East. That just doesn't make sense to me. I do appreciate them going back to rural and estate housing for the section just south of 200 South at where 1100 East hits it. In both cases, I might suggest a possible use for that land, and I know it's a zoning classification, and this isn't zoning, but something to recommend would be something like ag equestrian. That would be something that people could develop it into that would be, I think, compatible with the airport and would be compatible with the existing neighbors. The last point I'd like to hit is I have not seen any discussion about how many people do we think should live in Zionsville 10, 20 years down the road. That guides how many houses you'd want to build. That guides how much area do you need to set aside for housing. How can you decide how much housing to set aside in a comprehensive plan if you don't know how many people you would want to be here, or what is too many, what is too few to add? So those are my comments. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Julia Schultz. I live in the, I'm not going to give you the exact, the Traders Point Rural Historic District. The title uniquely Zionsville, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm looking at that going, there's a lot. I did read all the pages of this, and I spent hours responding to each one of those sections on the survey. There's a lot in the plan that concerns me because it is everything that isn't uniquely Zionsville in many of these sections. It's sad to me, we moved here 5 years ago. We escaped from California, as most of you probably know after seeing me up here before. One thing that California did, or at least our town, is they kind of adhered pretty well to the general plan updates, which were required every 8 years. The difference being that in California, they require every 8 years a new housing element that dictates a certain number of high-density homes, a certain number of estate homes, et cetera. When we were looking to move here, we went to the plan commission or plan department and asked if Zionsville does this, and we were said, actually they looked at me like I was nuts, which sometimes people probably think I am, but they said, no, we don't do that. In the 5 years that I've been here, Zionsville has grown faster than the 25 years I spent in my town in California. That requires all this growth. So it is very concerning to me. And then I've heard comments that say, well, we don't have to rely on our general plan and you can't rely on it. We looked at that. We asked so many questions. I mean, we were even in the stormwater department asking questions. And they're like, wow, we're really glad that somebody came in ahead of time to ask us questions. So I'm really disappointed in that this growth is on such a fast pace. And it is changing the face of Zionsville. I'm not opposed to growth. I mean, obviously that's going to happen. But I am opposed to growth that changes the face of the town. It really is a unique town. It is an amazing town, and we rely on you guys, we rely on the town council to represent us in this. And so I'm gonna I was jotting notes down. I actually hadn't planned on coming here and speaking. I just wanted to hear what's going on and where the thinking is on this. But one of the things that comes to mind is who's in charge? We're in charge. And you guys are facilitating that for us. You're listening to us, and I know you're trying hard to do what you're required to do, but at the same time do what's best for us in Zionsville. So I keep hearing, well, it's the future. This is what's coming. It isn't coming unless we allow it. I can't remember who told me at one point, they said we allowed one house per year to be added. We make the decisions here. We should be listening to the people that are paying the taxes, a lot of taxes, trust me. Not people that don't live here, that have inherited properties and want big developers to just come in and change it. So I appreciate that you are carefully reviewing everything. The other thing, I'm trying to read my notes here. I am kind of curious if you could answer the question after everybody has spoken, why you don't adhere more to, or you're not required to adhere more to the comprehensive plan. Because how does somebody come here and make a decision to move here and make this, because this is now my forever home. I am never leaving, so you guys are stuck with me. But why you don't adhere to it more so we can plan and we can say, yeah, this is where I want to be forever. That would be helpful. The other thing is the design of things that's coming in does not look uniquely Zionsville. And it's a good thing I'm not a drinker, because I'm telling you, if I go up 850 and I had something to drink, I would think, as I hit Marysville, I would think, I'm in Carmel. Wait, I made a wrong turn, because that looks like Carmel. It doesn't look like Zionsville. And the other thing, the last thing I'll say, because I know we're still in the process of developing this, so I know there's a ways to go. But when projects are brought before us, it says it's 1.6 homes per acre. But you add in all of the 50 acres or whatever additional acres are in that area when you come up with that number. But that's not what you're looking at. Because even though it's 1.6 homes per the total acreage, if you cram those into a few acres, it looks like a bunch of towns. It looks like going up Marysville. It does not look like Zionsville. I was told here, and even John Stair said, we don't do high density, but that's all I'm seeing. And high density is a relative term. Zionsville is not a starter town. It is not a high-density town, and I'm hoping and praying that you guys will do everything you can. I know you got to stick to guidelines, but doing everything you can to keep us really uniquely Zionsville. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair's squeaking.
Matt Price, 485 West Sycamore Street, just speaking for myself tonight. First of all, I didn't realize this, but Mr. Franz, I wanted to thank you as well for your service to our town. You've been an outstanding public leader and dedicated servant to our community for many years, and a big reason why we can all acclaim that Zionsville is uniquely Zionsville is very much due to your stewardship. So as one citizen, I'm very grateful for your dedication and for your leadership over the years, so thank you. Glad I got to be here tonight to say that. So you all have big shoes to fill in the town as we go forward. The Plan Commission's been a great body for our town for many years, and I very much trust that it'll continue that way. I was more going to speak to, I very much like the direction of the comprehensive plan in general. I have some specific concerns as it relates to a property that I own with a couple of partners, which I might briefly mention just to put on the record. But what I like about it is that it seems to me to be going in a direction of lending itself to a little more nuance in its interpretation. And I focused maybe on the colorful picture part of it more than I did the narrative, but in looking at the future land use map, there's a specific notation on it that says that the areas do not necessarily align with individual property lines, and that the ultimate developments that come forward or changes in zoning will be guided in part by what the wishes of the property owners are, which is a subject near and dear to my heart. I think that the property owner ought to have a little bit to say about what happens on his or its property. And so what I think that means for the Plan Commission going forward and the town going forward is that the interpretation of that plan can be more nuanced, that we can look for things like what are the surrounding land uses, what are the natural features of the property, what is the historic use of the property, what's the underlying zoning of the property, does it fit in the sense of an overall look and feel as opposed to more of a litmus test of it does not meet the comprehensive plan, and so therefore we recommend denial of the rezoning, which I think does a disservice to the process, and perhaps our prior plan kind of lent itself to that. But I see us having more of the ability to be more nuanced in our interpretation of that plan and seek to achieve more of a balance between those who are opposed to growth and those who can see their way forward to permitting some growth in our community. With regard to just my own situation, my neighbor, myself and two of my neighbors bought the old Zionsville trailer park back about a decade or so ago. And I grew up here in Zionsville. It was a place where people lived my entire life. And we bought it, frankly, rather than to appear at a public hearing and oppose a rezoning, we bought it to control what happened on that property. And in part to assure that there was no multifamily development on that parcel, which comes into the village. Right now, when I look at the future land use map, it's a little difficult to ascertain exactly what area we fall into. When I go to the special study area or the more concentrated close-in view, it appears to be preserving more or less what the existing zoning is, although it's a little unclear to me. I just wanted to note that at least my interpretation is that it's not suggesting that area is green space or public park, but that rather the existing zoning or some future zoning that might permit a dwelling on it is permissible. And I just wanted to register that one thought. I very much appreciate the timeline going forward. I think that's very thoughtful and will allow for some meaningful additional public comment. And with that, I just want to thank you all again for your service and appreciate the time everybody's spending on this plan. It's going to serve our town very well in the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else like to speak?
Good evening, Kevin Jarrett from 4315 Kettering Drive in Hampshire. I really appreciate that the town has spent so much time on this comprehensive plan, and there's been public forums for people to come and speak. One things I've kind of picked up on is obviously some of the things we've heard today on kind of the higher density housing. And then there's a pushback against, well, I'll just call it commercial. I think of commercial, for sake of this, like call it a CVS, right? Kind of the normal types of businesses that, when you have this many people living in a town, right, you just need businesses to access to do your chores, right? And I already feel today that I often get frustrated having to drive to, either Whitestown or Carmel, not just a long distance, but to spend our money that could be kept in town. And I understand why there's resistance to some of this stuff. And I just wonder, some of this is perhaps planning and zoning, some of it is perhaps relates to the master plan as to why there's not more commercial, right? And I think some of it, in order to keep uniquely Zionsville, and we've had talk today on green space, right? I wonder if some of this would be more acceptable to people if there were a greater emphasis on setbacks and green space between the roadways and the development. So for example, you look at what's been built on 421 recently here at Sycamore and then just up a little bit north. To me, that's kind of a gateway to our town. And we're ending up looking at like the back doors to like Piata and these places where, they're basically going to take their trash out, right? I mean, that should be lined with trees. We should never even see the backs of those buildings. The comments about the development on Marysville Road, one of those buildings looks like it extends into the road. Like that, I don't understand why that stuff isn't set back a little bit further. And what made me think about this is I go down to Houston, and when you look at the Woodlands, their main drive on which you come off the highway, there's even an ExxonMobil headquarters on that road. Both sides of that main road, total green space on both sides. You would never even know that there's a grocery store, a CVS, or anything on the other side of those trees except for a sign. And yet everyone knows those businesses are there. And that's a good way of keeping nature in town and yet still having development. It was just kind of an idea, but it's one thing that I thought about when looking at comprehensive plans. Do we look at other cities for examples? And I think that might be one to take a look at. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Hello and good evening. For the record, my name's Steve Pittman. I'm with Pittman Partners, offices at 9589 Valparaiso Court. First of all, I'm going to make an observation. I probably attended about 80% of these meetings that they've had, and so my observation of that is maybe the only other person that probably leads as boring of a life as me is you, Matt. You're at all these, yeah. And one thing. Secondly, HWC, Adam, I want to give you a compliment because I've seen you in a lot of meetings, and you develop thick skin like developers do, along with planners. Roger, you as well. I've seen you guys get abused for some of the things, and thank you for your comments. Really appreciate it, and you guys keep chugging along, and there's a lot of different people you're trying to keep happy, and you're trying to figure this out. And so, from that, I just say it's good for all of us to know that this is a comprehensive plan. It's a guideline, and the rubber meets the road when a developer brings a plan in, because there's got to be a property for sale, and a developer wants to buy it, and he brings a plan in, and you evaluate it at that time. And so I think you guys have the ability to demand excellence. You can deviate from that if people are providing you with excellence. And Zionsville has a marketplace where you can demand excellence, and developers should meet that, and the marketplace will pay them for it. Another compliment I want to give Zionsville on this process was I was heavily critical of the airport plan that came forward on the previous plan, because there should never be anybody that puts together a comprehensive plan besides the town of Zionsville. You shouldn't have an entity that's owned by Hamilton County that comes in and says, hey, well, we're gonna pay for your comprehensive plan, and hey, let's don't let anything happen around here. And so that'd be like saying, we're going to let the Builders Association and Metropolitan Indianapolis Board of Realtors and all the developers, we want to contribute, and we'll pay for your comp plan and let us do it. So the fact that you eliminated the airport and got them out of the equation in terms of being a decision maker, I think that's a really good thing. Another important issue that I hope that you guys address in this is HWC, as part of the plan, has talked about the importance of developing a utility plan. And so currently before your council right now, there was an ordinance that was being proposed that HSE had what's called a certificate of territorial authority to serve most of Union Township. They got that in 2009. It's 2025, and they don't have a pipe in the ground. They don't have a customer. And so there's some other very good alternatives. I have some opinions that I won't go into. I've let your council know what I think. But maybe that's part of you guys as you're moving forward and evaluating this, is how is that area going to be served? The last comment I'm going to make is when I look at the comprehensive map, the conceptual plan, you have a really big area from, let's call it State Road 32, 421, all the way down to on the west side of 421. You're calling for a residential estate, and I think that's great. I think that is the development pattern of that area that's happening. You also get down on the south area on both sides of 865. That's a residential estate area. And as you guys heard me say before, I continue to think this. When you get over to the airport and 32, 421 an airport, you go from, I think this individual over here was complaining about, you had an office innovation area coming down about halfway, and then you transition it right into residential estate. And I think that was probably a political decision that was made, because I don't think it's good. That's not a good transition. And what's going to, basically what you're saying in those areas that you've called residential estate over the airport, you're just saying, hey, that area is just not going to be developed, because nobody's going to go over there and buy 3-5 acres and say, I want to build a new house by this expanding airport. And I'm not suggesting you change that. I'm just, I think that's going to happen over time, where people will come in with different plans. But it's something that I don't think that transition works for whatever you do with it. Thank you for your time, and glad that I've had the opportunity to participate, and appreciate the people's willingness to listen. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Randall Collins, Starkey Road. I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what Steve said. We have a unique opportunity here to really start addressing some of the sewer utilities. I know they're trying to make the decision up north, but being on Starkey Road for 16 years, I would say about 2019, things really started to change, and they would change for the worse. There's things I've tried to bring attention to the EPA, also town officials, and all of it has fallen on deaf ears. So what I've done in my background, I not only build homes here in Zionsville, Purdue engineering graduate, I also did consulting for stormwater projects in the Chicago area, deep water projects in Indianapolis. So I'm basically versed in a lot of these areas. And I really wish that people in the town would start listening and start understanding when they start raising utility rates that we're basically kicking the can down the road again. Steve is basically on the board with TRICO. TRICO was on the picture of the plan. I think it was page 92 from the October 17th revision, and all of a sudden, it's been taken off, and it shows the Zionsville wastewater treatment plant on there as well. And if anybody's driven by there, it looks like a penitentiary. None of the neighbors have been notified of anything going on. The sound, the light pollution, the noise, everything, all hours of night. I mean, I have documents this high on everything that's gone on. I've gone through every EPA report about what's happening, and I get the same response back. We're good, everything's right with the EPA. I've found other things that have been uncovered, and I want everybody here to know that. What they're doing is wrong. TRICO, they have the engineering team. I've already met with them months ago when this stuff was going on. They have the resources. They've spent something like $42 million to make sure their facility runs efficiently. I went to the 50-year reunion where they gave tours. You go to ours, you got to ring on the bell. Hey, let me in. It's like going through, like a prison guard. So to me, there's a lot of things that are happening. And as this plan comes about, I really want to know that you guys are serious. Like, I know, Mike, you do a lot with the floodplains. Nobody's ever looked at the polishing ponds that are on the very end of the Eagle Creek watershed are in the 100 and 500-year floodplain. The lift station for the village near the Compton Trailer Park, previous, is also in the floodplain. There's things that are happening that we need to address. I've had people come to me and tell me they've left Zionsville because of the smells on Willow Road. And I tell them exactly how it happened, why it happened, and how we got to get some kind of a solution that is good for everybody. Because this is not the way to do business. And I do appreciate Adam and your team. I mean, I've read the pages, the October 17th one, 200-some pages, and the newest one. So there are things in there that are good, but I would like to see a comprehensive, somebody's got to make the decision, bring TRICO in right now. Bring them in, start letting them see what's going on, come up with realistic gravity sewers. Don't let these developers always come through and keep adding pumping stations. If I told you right now I could eliminate the Willow Road bridge smell just by taking Holiday Farms across 421 and tying it into a lift station that goes right to TRICO. Instead, they tried to pipe sewage thousands of feet in front of where I built a spec home on Willow Road all the way down, and now the city's left with the problem. How do we handle the smell? It's like trying to go to Chicago. Maybe it would take 2 to 3 hours. If you were taking the route of the Zionsville sewers, it would probably take you 30 hours to get there. And it's very sad because in the evenings, we drive back home through the village, and the smells are radiating out of there. And a lot of people that run the sewer plant, and even the town officials, they're not here in the evenings. They don't walk the trails. They don't smell it when you go on the rail trail and everything that's going on. And I'm telling you right now, there's a lot of things that need to change, procedural changes, but also out on that lot. That location of the wastewater treatment plant was put in the 50s. I've done all the research on everything they've done. Nobody has ever looked at this and gone, wow, maybe this doesn't need to be there because of where those ponds are in the floodplain, the constant pollution. And I invite everybody, I will give tours of anything you guys want to see because I've walked almost every square foot of this, basically Boone County. I was at the stormwater meeting this morning because that's how concerned I am about everything that they're doing. And everybody at that meeting this morning are really the key players. We've got to get the right people in the right rooms at the right time with the backgrounds and the engineering degrees to help solve these problems because everything in the comprehensive plan is basically going to build on this as we go forward. So my recommendation today is start putting a committee together. We got to invite in TRICO for the north region, but also the existing village. Because I don't want to have any more of my customers coming back to me saying, we don't want to go to Zionsville anymore. So I think in closing, appreciate your time. Adam, your group did a good job. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else? All right, I'll open it up to members of the board, or Plan Commission. Comments? I'm assuming you were taking notes.
I was.
Okay, good.
I know I can go back and watch the recording too to get full context.
That may be the most boring life that, in
You know what?
competition with,
You
you may
could
have
wa-
the most boring life competing with Matt and Mr. Pittman there.
On YouTube, you can go up to 1.5 speed.
Yeah.
Just let you
That's
know.
true, that's true.
You sound a little bit like a chipmunk, but it helps speed things up.
I got several things, or a few things that have popped up for me. Right off the bat, let me get to it real quick here. Under land use classifications, you have under rural and estate residential, primary uses of single-family detached dwellings, equestrian farms, and hobby farms. What's wrong with farms? Ag. I would think that we would want to promote that use in that area. And, I mean, we're essentially taking, the rural and estate residential area was at one time agricultural land. In fact, most of it still is. But I'd like to see that as a primary use in those areas. The other thing is we've setting ourselves up for a problem down the road, I think, if we put the largest parcel of land the school system owns right now, to my knowledge, is up in Union Township off of 100 South. You've got that entire area surrounded by rural estate residential. I don't know if that's where we want our schools. And not to say that's where the school's going, but we did rezone that special use earlier this year, or maybe last year. So those things, that things that Mr. Pittman brought up and some transitional areas from uses needs to be a little bit more sensitive. And when we first sat down and talked about this plan, one of the things I was very curious in was I want to be a good neighbor to our neighboring communities. I don't think southern Boone, I don't know if that's Boone County's jurisdiction or Lebanon's jurisdiction, in Perry Township between 400 and 550 South, really want industrial or employment flex, I'm sorry, to back up to them, or to be aware of that at least. So I think we need to do a little bit better job on, number one, I'd like to know, for example, what's Westfield anticipate on the other side of county line? All the way up to 200 North. What's Lebanon have coming out from Lebanon? There's this little square here at 32 and 650 that's mixed residential,
Yeah.
it looks like. Why? There's no sewer, there's no water out there, and that's entirely surrounded by farmland. And then you go down to the corner of 200 South and 700 East, or 650 East here. There's a PUD coming in right across the street that's 280 acres. There's another one that was approved last week. That's going to be very dense housing through there, yet we have this, we're wanting to preserve this as agriculture. I want to preserve the ag ground more than anybody. But I want to be complimentary of the surrounding municipality zoning. So there's some areas that need to be worked on in that area. And then before the next meeting, or can we get a hard copy of this map of future land use map? Some of those colors are really close to one another.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't know what some of these neighborhood activity centers were. I just thought they were a blip on my computer screen. So if we can get some hard copies of some of these, not the entire document, but a few of these things are more, particularly that map. And then the other thing was there's some comments made during sewer and water, during utilities for the Worth Township district north of Whitestown. Comments were this is a no man's land. That segment of between County Road 650 and 700 north of Whitestown. The old Worth Township area that's being annexed into Zionsville. Whitestown's dropped it from the sewer and water, but there's no comment in there about how's this going to be addressed in the future.
Yep.
It sounds like HSC and Trico, or the Trico deal may be able to address that, but I'd like to see something in there that says something more than no man's land. So those are right off the top things that really kind of jumped out at me. I do think this is a great document, Adam. I think you guys have done a great job with it. I wouldn't want your job. In fact, I think your job might be worse than sitting up here right now. But I think it's a great plan. I think there's some areas that need to be addressed. So.
Yeah, I think regarding the uses on the rural estate classification, we can certainly make that edit with the sensitivity to transitions. Zionsville is a big town, land area-wise. And admittedly, the future land use map does have to simplify some of it. Again, if the map is all you're looking at, it's especially tough. That's why we have the classifications. That's why there's a number of other goals and recommendations that I think get to some of that transitions and setbacks and buffers and things like that. But again, if I hear your comment, and we can go back and look at ways to improve that. I will just note on the future land use map, I'm happy to get some hard copies up to Mike, and he can get those coordinated per Mike's request. And admittedly, there's only so many shades of colors we can put on here, and still trying to adhere to some industry practices relating to colors. We have gone back, if you want to go back a few slides, Roger, actually, we've put some abbreviations on the map to help with usability, readability on this. So that was, I think, a great point by Mike. But yeah, like I said, we'll get some hard copies up here. And otherwise, you know, specific changes to the land use map, again, happy to hear them. I guess I will defer to you all how you want to handle this. I think the more we can get, as scary as it is, lines on paper, the more helpful that is to us. And I will say we did compile a map of adjacent jurisdictions and their future land use plans. Now, Westfield is in the process of updating their comprehensive plan right now. I don't know exactly where they are with that. Obviously, you know, we're familiar with Whitestown's plan. Lebanon, for the most part, is residential, as you know, on their southeast extension. So we have tried to at least consider that. I will say in previous iterations of this map, we did have more residential use north of 300 South, adjacent to Whitestown there, and after discussion with the steering committee and feedback at previous community engagement events, we did make changes there to make what had been conventional single family or something like that back to ag or to rural and estate residential based on feedback. But again, like I said, we're here to listen, so happy to consider any other changes over there.
Josh, I would suggest too that if you have some specific ideas about transitioning to, you know, provide your comments to us, so we're happy to pass those on to HWC.
I want to get some of those out in the public forum, though.
Oh, okay.
And like I said, Adam, I think you guys have done a wonderful job with this plan. Taken a tremendous amount of input and consolidated into something. I'm not faulting the plan. There's just some areas of concern, and going through the airport study, comprehensive plan deal, there's some questions I've learned from that, so.
Okay.
Hi, good evening. On the future thoroughfare plan map, you show Whitestown Parkway as a future principal arterial running west. You're running that through ag land, and I don't see anywhere else on this map where there is a principal arterial running through what you would classify as an ag zoning. That road on this plan terminates at a minor collector. As you take it north, would get you into your, what do you call it, employment flex? Yes, your employment flex. And I'm sure there are good reasons for all that, but it's unusual for anywhere else on your plan to extend a principal arterial through ag to run it into a minor collector to then get you up to an employment district. So to me, there seem to be some type mismatches in here. But you're the professional, and I'm sure you can walk me through it.
I'm sorry, you were saying Whitestown Parkway?
Whitestown Parkway, as it approaches 267, is red. I'm looking at page 141, your future thoroughfare plan map.
Yes.
It then moves to red dots with an undefined reddish circle around it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know what the reddish circle means, so I was going to come back to that, but here we
Okay.
are. If you flip over to the future land use map, that is all ag. That's not right. It picks up ag very quickly after your Regional Activity Center at Whitestown Parkway and 267, and then what would look to be mixed residential for a short while before it enters into ag.
And so on the future thoroughfare map, the solid lines mean there's an existing road there, and then, yeah, the dashed lines mean it would be a future extension or connection. The bubbles are to imply, and there's a note in the plan about it, that, again, this isn't a specific alignment. There would need to be a significant additional study and right-of-way engineering and design to determine where that is, but it's generally to say, points A and B are connected here. The reason for that extension of Whitestown Parkway is to provide another, essentially, connection to what would be the large employment flex area. Yes, it does go through agricultural area within the recommendations of the future land use plan, but again, it's to get to 200, which would be a north-south route serving that area. That was the reason for that.
And the principal arterial through ag land suggests maybe that isn't going to stay ag land. So again, it feels like a mismatch.
Okay.
To me.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, you're running it into a minor collector that is north of your, or probably on the north edge of your employer flex, is a major collector. On the well south of it is a principal arterial, and in between is a minor collector. And again, I'm having a little trouble with how that maths.
Okay.
So I think we all understand, and even our rural districts, things are going to change, but maybe a little less flipping between pages to.
Sure.
Yeah, and with that, I mean, you have that 600 corridor that is very heavily traveled with commercial right there already at the railroad, and Ronald Reagan is coming, to tee into that 267 corridor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's teeing there, and it's almost a straight shot, west to that 600, which is kind of that major corridor. I just feel like the map obviously probably had a heavy concentration on the airport and a couple other areas, and I think that part of the struggle, when you look at the use, you go ag, employment flex, and then ag. The only commercial place really out there is, that far west is labeled ag, and then those roads just really aren't matching up to really the current traffic flows and that pattern. I think some of it's probably hard to some utilities, but I also know that, there's some pretty heavy interest on the railway. I was just curious, where did you gather your info for kind of drawing the lines where you did over there between ag and that employment flex?
It's, largely an extension of the existing development pattern in Whitestown and some of it that is in Zionsville right now, and trying to obviously recognize the sites that are in closest proximity to the interstate, but then again, there was a discussion with the steering committee. I can't remember if the first iteration of this didn't have it going all the way to the railroad, or if that was there, but there was an intent, an intentional identification of that area to capture potential rail service, at the same time acknowledging that that is a large area even as it's drawn. And that, a utility extension into there will be a significant undertaking. And so focusing on that section as, again, where to grow out from.
Yeah, and with Citizens, they're running that main line up 200. I don't, I think sewer becomes the main issue.
Yeah.
But, okay.
Adam, the Whitestown Parkway, that dashed line that goes to the west from 267.
Yeah.
The, nearly the west half of that is actually a road that exists. So that county road that goes north-south there, there is an actual road there. Instead of a dash line, you may be need to show that as a solid line.
Yeah, west of.
It shows 300 east, but then when it
Yeah,
chicanes
so it'd be
there-
like 275.
275.
Yeah, okay.
But honestly, my thought is that that road be shown conceptually to swing north that half mile and line up with the purple line, which is 600 south. Because 600 south is actually a pretty nice route to get you over to Brownsburg, to the interstate. There's just a variety of, that road's fairly heavily traveled, and why not align those roads, or at least show it conceptually as aligning.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll definitely,
Yeah, just consider that.
yeah, look into that.
One thing that I like your note with the future land use plan. One thing that I think maybe could be added to that note about folks that maybe want to interpret it literally instead of conceptually. Here we are going back to conceptual versus literal. But, to me, when you see these big blocks of color, it does not mean that the best and highest use or the best practice in that area maybe is a business in the middle of a residential area, or or churches or schools or whatever it may be. I think that we look at these large, huge, these are massive areas. If you don't have that CVS or the church or whatever, you are 100% a automobile-oriented community. You're really not recognizing the evolution, and I'm not saying you personally, but just the community as a whole. We miss out on opportunities to create places that actually are walkable, livable, bikeable, and certainly we're ignoring the evolution of our society. We are hearing more and more and more in cities, towns, and counties around the nation that people want that walkable community. Now, it's not for everyone, but it is, every year that number goes up as far as the percentage of people that want that, and the number of people that want the rural living statistically. Again, not saying that everyone in the audience is going to automatically change their mind, but the point is that we get less and less of those people that want to have that. So I guess I just want to note here that when the Plan Commission's considering something and it's all the tan color, it doesn't mean we can't consider something that deviates from that when it's in the spirit of what's best for that area. Because honestly, just large swaths of the exact same thing isn't very uniquely Zionsville. This town has been historically a very walkable community, a very diverse population. And if we're not going to recognize that, I think that would be a miss. I guess I have one other just question for you, is there I know we've had to make a lot of political compromises and whatnot, but I guess from your perspective, having been in every meeting, except maybe if you were sick that day, I
think I've been in all
I
of
think
them.
you've made them all. Is there anything that maybe you wish we could have gotten past the political barrier and maybe would make our town more uniquely Zionsville that you would like to see in this plan? Hate to put you on the spot, but you've put a lot of time into this, and thank you for that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I don't really feel that. I think not to, punt on the question. Again, what I think I've tried to allude to earlier is I don't want the plan to be distilled down or only interpreted or valued by this map. And I think so. Because to your point, and like I said, it's a huge area. These are square miles, right? We're not talking about blocks. We're not talking about a property that is one development proposal. These are square miles. And so that ultimately the success or failure of this comes in how the other goals, how the nuance that is in interpretation, and it's generally meeting land use intent, but it's not addressing how we are designing to the existing site features, things like preserving fence rows and, there's any number of things that can be done and that we've tried to hit at in other areas of the plan. They all can't be notes on this map. They all can't be notes in the future land use classification. So just, again, trying to make sure that all of those other strategies and recommendations are at least considered through this, and then I'll be comfortable with it.
Maybe that's the note, is that the map should not be the primary decision or primary tool used to make a decision. It's the collection of policies and ideas that are in the plan that should be the primary, and then the map is, subsidizing that. I don't know.
It's a factor. It's a factor.
Something
Yeah.
just that we make it clear that we are going to honor the policies, the text in it, as much as we do, or similar to how we do the map.
It's like earlier with we're talking about the Pulte development, and it's like, okay, this doesn't seem to make sense, but then you take a step back and you start thinking about it, it does make sense, because you're not locked in. That is not, that's not mixed use. If there's on the fringes or where some of this stuff is, it can be what we need it to be as it transitions. So I think there's flexibility in this that makes it work.
And again, acknowledging, I think, through this process, we've heard a number of people would like it to be inflexible, right? Like, give me a plan that lets me know exactly what is going to happen everywhere, and that's impossible. At the same time, we don't want to create something that is the Wild West and isn't a tool for you all, council, or afford any amount of assurance to residents and property owners.
Is there anything else?
The best case study I've seen play out in Indiana is Bloomington, and it may not be that way today, I don't know, but going to plan commissions there, you would have petitioners that would hold that book up and say, on page such and such, your policy says this, I expect you to do this. And then the next petitioner would come up and go, oh, but on page 47, it says that you should do this instead. And it didn't always connect, meaning it didn't always synchronize. They both were policies that were important, and they left it up to the planning commission to sort that stuff out. I don't think that you have to have a perfect document that is always void of conflict, that sometimes it's okay to have strong policies that do sometimes conflict. So
Brad, I'll interject. I read through this several times, looking for inconsistencies about how people could pick this apart. It's tough to pick it apart. It's pretty well written.
My point is that I'm trying to, what I was trying to get at, and I probably didn't say it clearly, is that it's good to have the document being pointed to. I want to create that culture here where people are wanting to use the document to defend their case and not just come up to the podium and say, I don't like it, because that doesn't help so much. And I want the Plan Commission to be able to also point at pages and say, well, we're going to make this decision because of this that's in the plan. So the more we can institutionalize the concepts in the plan, the principles that are in there, I think the better off we are as a town.
So the underlying zoning that's in place today.
Yeah.
That plays a big role too. So.
Yes, nothing in the plan or on this map is an entitlement to go build it tomorrow. And even if something is proposed that generally aligns with this, there may not be the transportation infrastructure or the utility infrastructure to support it.
So you've got some takeaways?
Yes, and again, I will say, again, we want to make sure we're getting it right, and obviously defer to you all to drive schedule. I do know there's an interest in getting this done in a timely fashion, so again, please reach out with comments. If you want to funnel them to Mike, he'll certainly pass them on to me. If you want to reach out to me directly, please do so. Essentially, what we're asking for is a continuance to December, and like I said, our intent is to have an updated draft to you next Monday with a list of all the changes between the 1031 draft that you've received and this next one. It will go on the website. We will reset the comment form so that they are tracking with the most recent version. And I think that's it.
All right, so,
Just
go ahead.
curiosity, so with the plan changing, we advertised the document, the October document for tonight's meeting with a new version coming out. Do we need to re-advertise it with the new document, or what's your take on that, Dan?
You wouldn't be required to. I think that all persons who wanted to participate in the public hearing should know that the new version will be available on the website. Should be enough. You could do more than that, but that's what the law would require.
Okay. I'll take that as fact, so that's good. I'd like that we don't have to re-advertise it, but just
Is there a motion to
wanted to make
continue
sure.
this to the December 15th meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed by nay. It's continued to next month. See you.
Thank you.
Second on that? Who seconded? Oh, down there. Was that you, Josh? You seconded?
Did you second it or make the motion?
I made the motion.
Oh,
Yes.
so who's- oh,
Kendrick got it. Kendrick said.
All right, a couple quick items. Plan Commission rules and procedures. Do we need to suspend? Okay, all right, before we can act on this, we need to have a motion to suspend rules so we can begin a new item after 10 o'clock.
And motion, we suspend rules.
Second.
All right, all in favor, signify by aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, we can continue. So we have the Plan Commission rules and procedures. Mike, are you speaking to that?
Yes, try to be quick on this. One of the major changes to the rules of procedure is the addition of a consent agenda, which I mentioned to you last month. Also, what we did is we added signage as one of those items that could be approved on consent. We reviewed our zoning code and realized that something perhaps we haven't paid much attention to in the past was that actually signage proposals are subject to DP review. And so we thought, well, that would be something that we could add to consent, as long as the sign proposal conforms to the sign standards within the zoning ordinance, then that would be on a development plan approval that could be approved on consent. So that was something that we added to the rules of procedure since we last talked with you. Otherwise, there's nothing else new in here. And if you're okay with it, then I'd ask for a motion.
So if we approve this, does it go in effect immediately?
Yes, it's up to you to decide.
Your rules.
All right.
Yeah.
So, is there any further discussion?
So we haven't been doing this in the past anyways. We've not been bringing signs as a DP. So.
Well, yeah, they'd still be a DP, but it'd be on consent now.
Right.
So the concept is if there's somebody has any questions about the consent, we bring it up and just throw it into a full hearing.
Exactly.
So, all right. All right, so do we have a motion to approve the amendments? Is that what it is? Yeah.
So moved.
Is there a second? You got a second down there? Any further discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Opposed by nay. All right, those are approved.
Thank you.
Who's talking about these, Act 2025-18 and 19? Who's got those?
I'm
Jody?
doing the first one, Roger's doing the second one, so we only need another hour, hour and a half tops. So, these ACT items are administrative items, but we are required by the ordinance to then report them to the Plan Commission, so no action is expected from you tonight. The first one is an addition of outdoor seating to buildings at the farm PUD. Outdoor seating is part of the farm PUD. This particular seating area, I should probably point it out. This is Building 5 and Building 6. This is Sycamore. And then Michigan Road is running a little bit off the page here. These two buildings are very close together. This tenant wanted an outdoor seating area right outside the door here. So we did approve that because outdoor seating was approved during the development plan, and that's part of the overall PUD. So, but it was a minor change from what you guys saw last year when the overall retail spaces for the farm were approved for the DP in mid-2024. So,
How many seats are they going to get?
I mean, I think they're showing 2 four-tops there, so it's an ice cream place in case anybody cares, so.
Next one.
This is a minor development plan amendment related to the Gables Bagels business down in the village. Was docket number 2025-16 DPA. The development plan amendment that was approved for this included outdoor coolers, which are shown here in these areas. When the project came through for its building permits, our inspectors identified that the distance between the edge of the coolers and the adjacent building, which would be the Friendly Tavern, required a fire-rated wall to protect the coolers from that adjacent building. So what they submitted was a CMU wall that is sufficient in providing that separation, and we felt it qualified as a minor development plan amendment. It has been constructed, it is up, it has been painted. And so again, as a minor development plan amendment, we are required to report this to you.
Thanks. Anybody else have anything else they'd want to talk about? New business?
I do have one
Okay,
other
one thing.
item.
All right.
Roger.
Now we're getting to the hour. Yeah, blame it on me. At last month's meeting, the development plan for the terraces at Holiday Farms was approved, but there were some additional conditions made that we did not have on the findings of fact at that meeting for you to sign. We've redrafted those findings of fact to include those additional conditions. So I just need to pass this down for you to sign what was approved at last month's meeting.
And Roger, do we have a clean copy of the rules of procedure to pass around? By chance? No?
No, we did not print
Okay,
it out.
okay. So we'll get that, we'll do that next month, we'll get it signed next month.
Yep.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? In favor?
Aye.
Feel free to sign that, pass it down quick. Someone said it earlier.